Hi everyone and welcome back. I'm so happy to be coming on this evening and talking to you about the incredible year ahead of 2022. I feel like I've been bracing myself to make this video for a long time because we have some incredibly new concepts to talk about, and as I've been sitting with the year 2022, I've gotten a lot of energetic downloads, and I've been very excited to make this video because the way that the energy is changing, the way that we are emotionally expanding, the way that our dreams, our goals, our purposes are coming more and more front and center. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful ride. I hope that you're excited to get some insight on your sign, as well as perhaps your sun, moon, rising, or stellium sign in your birth chart. And perhaps it is even good to cross-reference as well and know what, any other signs that you're curious about, how their year ahead of 2022 might be. So a quick introduction for you all, what I'm planning to do with this video. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the context of 2021, as well as 2022 as a whole. So not just about the signs, but about the general overarching themes of the energy of these 2 years, and specifically 2022. And then I'm going to be doing each individual sign forecast for the entire year ahead. So I'm really excited to do that. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here on my channel in 2021. It was a wonderful time. We spent a lot of the year in live premieres, and there will be more live premiere seasons in 2022. And yes, this channel will continue to be here in 2022, providing free content for your journey. Though if you are looking to support this channel, it is on Patreon as well. So I will quickly advertise for the Patreon page. It is a wonderful service. I do weekly tea chats, which are bonus content every week. And without the patrons on Patreon, this channel would not be possible. So this video would not be here today if it were not for that support line. So while this channel does endeavor to provide a lot of free content here on YouTube, it is with the support of the patrons that it is able to continue on. So if you've been wanting to support an independent creator as well as keep this content coming, do check out the Patreon page. I will link it below and in the top right hand corner now. Also, there is a join button to the left of the subscribe button here on YouTube, which is a great way to support this channel as well. Anyway, without further ado, everyone, let's dive straight into this video. I'm so excited to talk about 2022. We have a huge, probably 1 to 2 hour long video coming up here. So let's dive in. I think it's going to be a really exciting journey. Okay, so to understand a little bit more about 2022, I want to kind of conclude on 2021. I've made so much content this year, connecting to 2021 as a whole. As I found, as we moved into Jupiter-Saturn conjunct in Aquarius, it became more and more difficult to isolate small timelines off. So in monthly readings, weekly readings, any content really a month or under ended up usually derailing into a larger dialogue about the entire year. And that's because we have so much astrological energy placed into Aquarius and Pisces. Things kind of run together, things kind of are bigger and not so isolated to small units or small fragments. There's a large degree that, and this started in the year cycle of 2021, there's a large degree of feeling as if things were or are bigger and not in any way separate or isolated, a more universal type of feeling, to not only to time, but to activities, to endeavors, to relationships, and to sectors of your life especially. We talked a lot at the end of 2020 about how the different sectors of our lives, so relationship, career, health, home, environment, all of these things kind of merging together and it being more difficult to really separate or distinguish between them. So as we went through the year of 2021, it's important to kind of see how that happened and how that's going to even increase moving into 2022. So talking a little bit about, perhaps one of the last times about just 2021, it was kind of a gauntlet. That's the word that kept coming up for me over the year of 2021 was like, okay, this is a challenge. This is a gauntlet. This is something that is really asking a lot of important questions about how we want to invest our energy. So as we prepare to move out of 2021, one thing that keeps coming up for me as I think about it is that everything is kind of there in 2021. Everything kind of ran together. Perhaps you contributed in certain ways to every single aspect of your life up to that point. Perhaps it wasn't possible to just focus on that one goal and let other things kind of fall away. Perhaps you had to have a super comprehensive approach in your life in order to get by, which may have been very stressful. I was seeing so many people not any longer just being able to isolate things. I think there's a common culture around success that deals with isolating a goal and just contributing to it. So hypothetically, say you want to be a doctor. I think that prior to 2020, the way in which something like that would be achieved would be through kind of ignoring everything outside of that type of goal. So, you might think of medical school, you might think of funding medical school, you might think of networking with people in the doctor industry, you might think of, having some type of job that supports you while you get your medical degree. And then you might kind of think about, okay, once I get my medical degree, how do I move from there? And there might not be anything else to your experience other than those types of trains of thoughts. Well, we saw in 2021 that that's not how life works anymore. We don't just get to have these isolated kind of specialty experiences where we are only one part of life, and we then rely, I suppose, on the service economy or service industry to prop up every other part of our life so that we can specifically, coherently, be that one thing. When we had Jupiter and Saturn move into Aquarius on December, I believe it was 21st, 2021, around that time, what happened was that we had a vast expansion and solidification of multifactorial experiences. What does that mean? I know that's kind of complicated. That means that isolationist experience, that condensing experience, was stretched out and fixated. So using that same example that we used before, if you want to become the doctor, it's like now you have to have all of these other aspects of your life also working under your own control. So maybe you have to have a whole other career as you go through medical school. Maybe you have to have a much higher connection to preserving relationship peace and tranquility. So keeping your family relationships going, keeping your marriage or your romantic relationships really peaceful so that you can facilitate the impossibility of derailment within your pursuit of a medical degree. We basically came to this place where we couldn't ignore those outside outlying factors. And that was really hard for a lot of people because I think it's maybe been generations since humans had to have such a comprehensive capability. Again, for example, like business owners kind of almost having to be like their own accountants, having to be like their own lawyers, having to have such a comprehensive view instead of just, expecting to hire some of these things out. Of course, the latter is something that is still done and is still recommendable, certainly. But I think everybody can feel this, how having to rely on other people or other moving parts to put things together for you while you have these individual focuses as a derailing and overall devastating and torturing type of experience of life. So an over-reliance, basically, on external autonomous moving units as something that on one hand was devastating and also showed the fear of not being in control. So I also feel that this was not completely organic. This was more of I don't trust these other autonomous people in my life to do things right. I've got to do everything myself. It actually veered off for a lot of people into the utter opposite end of the spectrum where they were something like, okay, I have to, reinvent the wheel. I have to do all of this stuff myself. And that was a lot of the gauntlet of 2021 was people, veering off into that opposite territory and essentially reinventing wheels left, right, and center. And maybe that was just something that we had to do. It was a year of the ox, which oftentimes deals with having too many constraints placed on you or having too many things that you're working for. So something really incredible if you're spending some time in reflection of 2021, as is really, really wonderful to do, especially in Capricorn season and then in Pisces season again. If you're reflecting, try to think about what put bondage or chains onto your experience in 2021, because that is one of the best things you can click during this time. It's very open to click these things. And we've got to think outside of the box. So this isn't just like, oh no, my employer is too reliant on me. This isn't just like, oh no, my family is too also like reliant on me. Those are very obvious forms of like emotional or even physical feeling bondage, where we're very aware of that at this point in time. I'm more so talking about the dependence on debt, perhaps, as a facilitator of your experiences, being out of control of your spending. These are also things that create bondage, where we can never get ahead and we can never really exercise true freedom over our experience. So the year of 2021 will have examples, okay, of this, where we're bondaging ourselves, or bonding, I suppose, ourselves to things that we might not have ever realized were that. So I would definitely recommend taking a look through your expenses, taking a look through where your time, money, and energy went in 2021, and why you came out of 2021 either in debt or in a great level of surplus, because some people really cracked that code in 2021 as well. It depends. Of course, we have all different kinds of people watching this video, but I think everybody, regardless of how well you did, can have examples of where they tied themselves to something in 2021 that either was too hard on them. So I saw overworking as a big thing in 2021. So you could see that, if you were doing any kind of labor, there could be a physical wear and tear. Okay. Just an example for me as a content creator, as someone who's always creating these, using my voice, right? I've had to be very careful in 2021 to not damage my voice with the amount of content I create. It's a perfect hypothetical example of what 2021 was like in a lot of ways. So I would pay very close attention to what physical capital you have to invest into what you do. Kind of economic here, but so say if you're a content creator or podcaster like myself, you have to kind of think about how you then treat your voice, for example, because without my voice, I would go into destitution, I suppose. So I have to make sure that I use that responsibly. And I have to make sure that I don't think, okay, I'm just going to make 70 videos in 1 month because I think that that's going to be good for my business. That might be good in the short term, but it could completely devastate and mess me up in the long term. We have to really know pacing, okay? We have to really know also that our bodies are worth more than any amount or sum of money. That's a great moral to come out of 2021 with. And we have to know also what we are willing to invest in certain things. Also, if you do any types of exercises like running, we have to pay attention to the health of our feet over a long period of time. If you do like heavy lifting in your job, you have to pay attention to your back and how it's doing over the long term. If you are on a computer screen all day, you do coding or you do graphic design or something, pay attention to the health of your eyes. The year of the ox 2021 year cycle will show very clearly, not subtly, if you are overusing some part of your body in order to create some type of material result that likely is not worth it. So we have to have that change going into 2022, or 2023 will come with like big health bills or some type of forced reform in your productivity. And then, yes, the main thing that we need to come out of 2021 with is basically a summation of productivity versus results versus purpose. Do these things line up? Does your productivity line up with the results you got? Do those results you got line up with your intuited purpose that has come in now? If the answer is not yes, please do not worry, because honestly, 2022 as a year exists to get this stuff right. 2021 is kind of like the statistics of all of this. Like 2021 almost served just to generate some statistics in some people's lives, like seeing the productivity on a timesheet, seeing the results in the account, and then also then maybe seeing the journal entries or the feelings in regards to those results. And now 2022 comes in to kind of start to give new bridges, new open doors, and new opportunities to start to really get stuff right, okay? If the 2021 year cycle was like the energy of the lovers, which to me was one of the main archetypes of that year, also 9 of Wands, also 10 of Wands, also 9 of Swords, because it's a lot on the mental processing to get all of these sort of statistics about our own lives, and for it to be so honest. 2021 was a very honest year. But the Lovers to me was the main like tarot archetype that I felt, because there was a lot of sort of stagnating at the crossroads, waiting for data to come through to understand how to move forward and stuff like that. That's not going to be how it is in 2022 anymore. The main card that I've been seeing for 2022 in my mind, just psychically, is the Judgment card. Okay, so there's going to be kind of a loud trumpeting of a result, and we got to wake up to what that means. And for some people, it could even be 2023 and 4 before they're totally in path and in progress and lined up. But that's okay. It's a short timeline, honestly, like 2.5 years, 3 years, to have these sort of revelations about oneself and one's connection to this world, and then to start to change and transform our choices, our actions, and our commitments to connect to those understandings and those morals that we're receiving. So it's all in good time. The main thing as a prologue to 2022 is to not force yourself into momentum, okay? As humans, sometimes just a few months passing can feel like a long time to us, and it can feel like, oh my God, why haven't I made changes? Why haven't I gotten things perfect? Why haven't I, acquiesced to my perfectionist streak? That's a very common feeling for a lot of people moving into 2022. And we need to satiate that now and understand that larger timelines are significant, and that in due time, it's going to come together. Okay, and ultimately there's going to be a transcending and a transition point from the difficult waters, okay? But try to not rush it, and try to not sprint, okay? More than you have to, because coming out of 2021 collectively, it's enduring to me. There's something tired about the energy. There's something that is more indicative at this point in time of rest. I also see 4 of Swords for the year of 2022, interestingly. And I see also 9 of Pentacles. I see quite a few Wands cards as well, but earlier. So I'm seeing especially like 4 of Wands, 3 of Wands. So that's refreshing in comparison to the archetypes that were at play in 2021. It's going to feel a little bit more hopeful. It's going to feel a little bit more, motivational. Okay, but let's talk just about 2022 for a little bit before we get into each individual sign. We spent a lot of time recapping 2021, but it likely needed that time. If you're rewatching this video after the live premiere, there will be convenient video chapters below, so you can feel free to thumb through whatever segment is interesting to you. Okay, leaving 2021. Allowing our psychic energy to disembark from that, and just opening up to the 2022 year vibe. Primarily, it's not going to start until March 21st, but honestly, January 1st, the calendar new year, is very preemptive for it, because we have Jupiter changing sign right at that time. So it's going to be like a very potent new year. Okay. So I have a bit of an outline here. The first thing I have written down is there's going to be a perceptible kind of gravity shift in 2022. So things are going to hit you a little bit differently, likely. When I say gravity shift, I of course am talking hyperbolically, but it might almost feel as if the way our physical bodies are moving, or the weight that we're carrying, could adjust in 2022. As with all of the Pisces energy, we're going to have Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions, okay, in Pisces, super exalted, super emotional, super universal. And kind of like you're swimming. There might be kind of a sort of suspended feeling as if you're suspended in space, feeling as if you're just kind of like, one with the world. And that's incredible to see. And it kind of, on one hand, also worries me a little bit, because I also see the universe really wanting people to get very stringent and very detailed on what they're doing, but at the same time, there's this universality and there's this infinite kind of like connection. So there's a paradox here, and I will let you know that it's a very paradoxical year. So if you're someone who needs direct answers, if you're somebody who needs a yes or a no, or perhaps demands a yes or a no from a professional or from yourself on like what you want to do, that's likely not going to be here. I mean, honestly, there's a time around June and July when Jupiter gets into Aries where we might start to really get those questions, but it's going to retrograde back into Pisces. So it's not a very clear time for definitive results, okay? It's not anything like that. That's why I kind of want us to get that if we can while Jupiter is still in Aquarius, and to then allow the emotional plane healing that is trying to come in 2022 come in on the basis of these foundations that we already have. As I've looked through the entire year of 2022, I've looked at all the transits, I've watched the chart animate throughout the entire year a few times. The main impression that I'm left with comprehensively is that there's a feeling of the old and the new coexisting simultaneously. So we've got a lot of energy in Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus, even Gemini coming through. So we have almost an equal balance between the last signs of the zodiac and the first signs of the zodiac throughout the entire year. And what that says to me is that there's something very old that we're dealing with, something very ancient, and there's also something completely new at the same time. So it's a penultimate, or not even penultimate, but ultimate transition period as we have old world experiences and new world experiences kind of battling it out, it seems like to me. So how do we self-preserve our own humanity in the face of that type of conflict and that type of paradox? It's a good question. To me, it's the most important question of 2022. Is how do we do that? And I think maybe it's good for us all to reflect about that. We might not know it quite yet. I'm not going to give an answer to that specifically. I might kind of stream of consciousness through it at this point, but there's no answer to that. That's different for everybody. I don't think anybody can just answer that question point blank. But it's very easy to be psychologically challenged in 21, but even more in 2022 because of this tug of war between old world and new world. I would say that this is not just a matter of like human association either. I would say that this is micro and macro to the furthest extent, to the degree that I would assume that maybe old solar systems and new solar systems might even be kind of conflicted in their gravitation or something. Like this is the thing about astrology, right? Is we can interpret it at the micro level, at the individual or even collective human level, but it's far greater than that. I mean, this is getting up into like, moving galaxies, moving universe, and how it chooses to invest and divest its own energy. And to me, this astrology suggests that the universe, is battling between its old ways and then new ways that it's finding. And that's going to be felt at the most micro and at the most macro. So the way that we see that here on the Earth plane, yes, is like these new economic systems battling the old economic systems. I suppose there's a lot of examples of that, certainly. We see like new social movements battling old social movements. And even more micro, we might see the battle of old relationships versus new relationships. It's so much like 1 foot in and 1 foot out of things. And that was a part of 2021, yes, but in 2022, it perhaps might be at its climax point where we are in such a level of fluidity that it's hard to maybe commit to one path or one field, though nonetheless there is a demand to do so. So the main element I feel to be in play in 2022 is the water element. It really dominates, okay? On one hand, it's a year of the water tiger in Chinese astrology. And also, to me, the most hard-hitting transit is likely going to be the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions in Pisces. Even though we have a lot of other conglomerations of planets here and there in Aries, in Capricorn, in Aquarius, and those are, of course, not water elements. The Jupiter-Neptune Pisces is going to dominate, okay? The Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions will, because Jupiter is an expansive, it's an intensifier, it's an expander. Pisces, the sign of Pisces, is about the infinite, the sort of undefinable, the unlimited aspects of life, and Neptune is a higher octave of that. So those planets coming together like that says to me that the level of universality in 2022 is going to be off the charts, and also that pretty much all doors are going to be open. It's going to be very difficult to really generate perceptible boundaries. It's going to be really hard also to disconnect or detach yourself from more global themes. Basically, any type of dividing lines will be crossed during this year. So this brings to mind to me a lot of different possibilities. It can be all across the spectrum. It's hard to really qualify this as a good or bad thing, because on one hand, I'm feeling that people are finally able to get into their dreams. I'm feeling that things that we once thought were not possible for us to do, things or fields or industries or locations, anything that we thought I will never do that, like that's out of my class system, that's out of my social ranking, that's out of my, intellectual capacity. Any of those old limiters like that are really broken in 2022. So this does give an opportunity, and it's good to know this going into 2022. It gives the ability to really shift things up and to really be where you want to be, and that's beautiful. But it also, because every single door almost seems to be open in 2022, it takes a really sophisticated internal guidance system. It takes a really sophisticated pineal gland. Our third eye has to be very on. If you can imagine, it's kind of like a maze almost, with a lot of different open, cross intersecting moving parts, or open gateways. It's kind of hard, if it's also kind of like being in a very tall building, like going up an elevator of like a skyscraper, and like all the different floors kind of being something that you might like to be at, but we don't have time in a 120-story building to explore every floor. Like, that's not something that's feasible. Yet at the same time, it's almost like all of these floors are labeled as something that you might like to partake in. So you would have already probably felt this a little bit in 2021, but 2022 is going to kind of intensify this a little bit, where it's like, yes, I would like to get that PhD. Yes, I would like to start that company. Yes, I would like to get married. Yes, I would like to have kids. Yes, I would like to climb Mount Everest. Yes, I would like to go on a world tour. Yes, I would like to buy a really huge house and have an incredible, just central base for my life. Yes, I would like to be an investor. Yes, I would like to receive like a stimulus check. Yes, I would like to, you see how all of these things clash? Like you kind of have to pick and choose sometimes in life. But when all the doors are open, it leads us sometimes to start to like glitch out in the fetal position, because maybe our pineal glands are suffering a little bit and we don't really actually know which paths are connecting with our soul purpose. So this is really the key to 2022 here. Okay. 2021 would have kind of given you every synchronicity that you need. It would have given you every kind of like, this is the right territory, this is the wrong territory. And we've really got to move into 2022, I think, with a higher focus. Focus. When I say focus, that's a great word for 2022. If we can focus our momentum, if we can know where we want to be, if we can know what contributes to it and what doesn't, we will be very ahead of the game. And we will really be able to accomplish any goals that are contributing to the path that we know is right for us. But how do we get into that space where we know psychically or realistically or logistically what is right for us? Okay, that is a big question. And the answer to that question is a bit of an interesting one. We can't know for sure. Because of the undefined nature of Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions in Pisces, it's unkind to sort of rigid plan making, rigid strategies, because it's not universal. Like when humans try to do things all themselves, when they try to be completely in control of their lives, that is not a wonderful thing, because the universe has its own contributions. So we have to kind of know day by day what is and is not good for us. We've got to weed things out a little bit. We've got to let go of a few things that we know aren't good for us anymore and replace them with things that we know that are good. And basically the contributing to each of these things on a daily basis, as we know every day that it's a good part for our lives is going to basically generate the perfect purpose, or it's going to generate the perfect trust. Okay, so I also want to talk about the word trust a little bit in regards to 2022. So that two key words already coming up are focus and trust. Okay, trusting your focus, focusing on trust. Again, we're getting into these very sort of distinguished and wonderful results of having a healthy mind, okay, of having a healthy body that can really define and know purely what is and is not a good thing in your life. Because again, the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction can lead to escapism. That can generate a lot of escapism. That can generate a want to live in an alternate reality, to live in a fantasy, to want to create things that are not real, okay? And that can be beautiful. So artists really thrive, obviously, musicians. Also, I would say companies that create games or any type of alternate realities, virtual reality stuff, technology sector is all going to absolutely increase over the year of 2022. But it's going to create an odd karma through these increases if what we're creating and what we're giving is only a tool that derails people from their needed path and leads them into a kind of an escapist fantasy world. We've got to be able to distinguish. And I think that in a way, we all have a sort of, flirtation with fantasy in 2022. It's not going to be avoidable, and it's not a bad thing. In fact, if there's not some element of fantasy or some element of growth and evolution through a sort of different or even surreal type of energy, you won't connect to the 2022 energy. So contrarily, in 2022, if we're very Capricorn, okay, very Saturnian, very real, only looking at the numbers, only looking at the real world stuff, we're also not going to make progress. So we have to know how to balance basically the ethereal and the real. And it's likely that the ethereal will lightly surpass the real. And in that way, it is a wonderful time to dream and a wonderful time to not, and it's not just about dreaming in the real world. This is important because 2021, there was a lot of like drudgery and dreaming to compensate. In 2022, the real stuff is going to start manifesting, like the ethereal and the dreams and the ideas, concepts of what I or my family could do, could become, all of these like things or imaginings that have not yet come to fruition would have been very real in the sense that they had not come to fruition in 2021. But 2022, they're going to start coming to fruition, okay? And there's going to be likely around the time of like April, mid-April 2022, it will be like there for you, like these new goals, these new imaginings, these new what were once ethereal types of contemplations becoming real things. So yes, manifestation is absolutely at a high, and it's kind of magic realism to a degree. Okay, so that's like a school of literature or a literary style, but it's very much, to me, one of the evocations of 2022. 2021 was kind of there as well, but it's going to intensify in 2022, and we're going to get more first-person, I think, magic realist experiences, which basically means that there's a sense of wonder, ethereal magic, and, kind of supernatural context to a very kind of stoic and real, hyper sort of even ancient or old, outworn things taking on, again, that sort of supernatural context. So that's going to be a vibe. That's sort of the vibe of 2022. And the way that we in first person navigate that is really where the magic is. Like, I'm seeing a lot of really cool adventures for a lot of people in 2022. It's kind of like a Final Fantasy game, honestly. It's kind of like a high stakes RPG. that's not real. That's just a hyperbole to the feeling that 2022 can evoke. And I think we should have fun with it while it's here, but we have to have limits with it at the same time. Like I'm seeing a lot of people lose track of reality perhaps this year, and it's really important to know what is real in your life, and because that realism aspect to like magic realism is the key. Like without the realism part, it's just like it's just almost a mind game or a mental maze. So there has to be some type of realistic expansion also in 2022. Otherwise, there won't be a grounding or a foundation for what we consider to be like the dreams coming true, for what we consider to be like the etherscape or the dreamscape manifesting into the real world. That has to have a real underpinning or a real foundation. And bringing this back down away from just this conceptual rush, because it might not totally resonate. Like if you maybe listen to this video in like August of 2022, you might already kind of be like, gosh, Sky is like talking so much stuff that just doesn't really seem applicable, because I'm recording this during the North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sag, and this is a very conceptual, arbitrary reading because of the time it was recorded. But I'm going to try to jump forward a little bit here and make some even more resonant stuff. And hopefully the whole thing resonates for you even in the future. Hopefully you watch this video back a bunch of times, because it really helps the YouTube channel to thrive if you watch it over and over and over again. Please watch my videos over and over and over again, guys. Thumbs up if you watch Sky's videos over and over and over again. 2022 is the best year to watch Sky's YouTube channel. Anyway, shameless plug aside, bringing this down to the real grounded things that the North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio will connect with perhaps a bit more. So we have to step into our lives, as I feel many of us stepped out as far back even as like 2014, okay? We have a quarter return of Saturn finishing, since Saturn was in Scorpio, which I think is important for those of us who have made like spirituality and healing a part of our physical structured life. Probably, I would assume a lot of you that watch this channel probably had a very intensive 2014 and 2015 in Saturn and Scorpio, which would have led you to this type of content, and maybe you subscribe to a lot of channels now and have maybe made this type of thing a structured part of your routine, Saturnizing these types of healing arts and practices. So now that Saturn has made a quarter return to that point in time, it signifies a changing chapter. It signifies a more, how do I explain? This particular quarter passage of Saturn is like, are you ready to implement the real fixed, innovative aspects of your life and take some of this stuff out, like from your solar plexus and into the real world? So in the year 2022, it's very difficult to be too still. It's difficult to be quite unembodied or ungrounded. It's very wonderful to be like innovating new exercise regimens for yourself, and not just exercise. So I'm not even talking like exercise from your living room, or like a yoga from your living room, or even stuff like in the gym. Okay, those are wonderful. Keep doing those as well. But we almost have to have more adventure correlated with our physique. Okay, so I'm talking hiking. I'm talking like those. Like rock climbing courses with like other integrated types of like zip lines and stuff like that's really great for 2022. There's got to be some type of physically connected adventure, especially things that make you feel gravity differently. So the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, one of the main ways that we can channel that energy effectively and healthily is to experience a sort of new body weight, like gravity situation. So yes, doing things like zip lining, skydiving for some people. Of course, I'm not recommending that you skydive. Disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only. But anything that, and I mean swimming, okay? I don't know, snorkeling, scuba diving. Do you catch my drift here? All of these things are giving you a different perceptual feeling. It's hitting your nervous system. It's recalibrating your nervous system and how it functions and registers different environments. That's a very key element to just communicating with this almost like alien, almost highly intelligent, like way above human intelligence level energy that's here with Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces. We have to kind of almost get out of our comfort zone, or not even so much out of our comfort zone. We just maybe have to experience something we've never experienced before in order to communicate and feel this energy. So I'm seeing experimentation for a lot of people, and this is not a good or a bad thing. I'm seeing like experimentation with hairstyles that they've never had before, experimentation with locations, travel, or people going into space as well. And we're already seeing that certain people have done it. Not too many people, I suppose, but that would be a great way, for example, to channel this energy. Any astronauts out there, hit that thumbs up button or comment below. Let us know if you're an astronaut watching the Esoteric Sky YouTube channel. That would be quite incredible. But going to space would be great. Okay. Being in a submarine, being on some type of ship voyage, okay? What is not wonderful, okay, is being cramped up in a little house or apartment all day, every day. Because the mind will go absolutely all over the place with Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces. And that is not bad for every single person. Like, there are some people, I suppose, who can have that experience well, because again, the concept artists out there, the musicians, the artists, the astrologers, yes, they can use this energy to further their craft and expand it drastically. So there's going to be a drastic expansion of astrology, of entrepreneurism, of even new forms of science, new forms of math, new formulas, new economic models. All of that stuff is going to innovate through the moon in the year of 2022. It's likely that we might also come out of the year of 2022, and by 2024 for sure having a very staunchly different monetary system, as Jupiter being a money planet and Neptune and Pisces being all about liquidity and surpluses actually, and huge movements, huge migrations, okay, of money, people, aliens, I don't know. Just kidding. But there's going to be things along that line. So I'm thinking huge like social migrations. So probably people moving countries, probably vast increases in immigration like globally. And it's going to be kind of odd. It's going to maybe not be what was expected, like countries that we might not have expected to see so much immigration into, that could increase. And it's not really going to be preventable, I don't think, at this time. And there's going to probably be a lot of drama, okay, and a lot of there might be a lot of crazy headlines and really worrisome outcomes regarding immigration or movement of people. And then also not just people, so like money as well. There could be a lot of like crazy headlines about really scandalous stories about movements of money across borders, okay, where it shouldn't have been. That's possible in the year of 2022 to see as a global theme. And beyond like people and money, it can even be like, I suppose there's a greater chance of odd weather as well. Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces says to me that it's perhaps like snowing in an odd time of the year, or the rainy season has come during the dry season. And this ties into that sort of magic realism vibe. All of these things do. So when we are connected with people from a different part of the world, when it's snowing during an atypical time of the year for snow, when we realize that we're operating in a monetary system that we have absolutely no context with and cannot predict for, this throws all of our sort of rigid and known muscle memory, societal muscle memory, into chaos, as there's no muscle memory for what we're moving into in 2022. Okay? And I think that that's probably the best thing to know. The best thing that I can tell you at a level of overview for 2022 is whatever you're dealing with here during this time, there's no muscle memory for it. So if you can bypass the frustration of maybe not having your sea legs, of not maybe having a context for how to operate in a variety of ways, you'll do well. It really takes an adventurer's heart to thrive in 2022, someone who can kind of take losses or take forfeitures as a kind of adventure instead of necessarily a painstaking or traumatizing experience. If you experience a loss in 2021 or two, especially 2022, this has to be a victory for you, okay? Because if it's not a victory for you, we can see huge spirals into uncontrolled emotionality. There's a potential in 2022 for uncontrollable crying, for in good or bad situations, like tears of joy are very likely with this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces. It's an exalted conjunction. I'm going to make a specific video about it, but it's dominating this 2022 video for sure. This is an exalted conjunction, and to me, it is the energy of tears of joy. I finally stepped into my purpose, and I achieved it through my own endurance, through my own capability, through my own power, and through the support of the universe, okay? It's not just me, but it's also a universal thing, and they come together, and this is like tears of joy for a lot of people. Though it can definitely become crying over things that aren't that sad, okay? Jupiter-Neptune conjunct in Pisces. It can become like Neptune's horses, okay? This is like a mythos. We have Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, in the sign of Pisces conjunct Neptune. I'll try to put an image up about Neptune's horses, and you can definitely research that on your own if you have time. I won't go into it too much in this video. We'll be here all day. We might be here all day anyway. Thumbs up if you love being on Sky's YouTube channel all day. Okay, moving on. But yes, likelihood of Neptune's horses, which the sort of mythos moral of Neptune's horses is like a stampede or an emotional storm, or like the destruction and chaos that comes from a highly emotional person going on a rampage. There can be a rampaging for some people. There can be almost like drunken emotional rampages in the negative, and tantrums, and any type of drunkenness. So Pisces ruling over all types of skewing of reality. So being drunk, being, out of your right mind is likely to be like way more intense or way more chaotic than ever before. I don't want this video to get demonetized, so I better not talk too specifically here, but you would want to avoid any type of substance, because it might, with all of these sort of issues with what it's made of, causing unexpected deaths for some people. Hopefully this video won't get demonetized. That would be at a high with this transit as well. So it would be good to completely avoid that, because it will almost have a feeling of drunkenness even in sobriety with this transit. And even in a complete state of sobriety, you can see slight chemical levels of the body naturally coalescing with this universal energy and giving a feeling of euphoria for some people, giving a feeling of a lot of different feelings. So definitely watch out. And also things like ayahuasca, things like that. I know a lot of people on this channel might be kind of into that stuff. I won't go into it, but I don't support it. Like I've never made my platform clear on that. I don't support it. I don't think that it's for 99.9% of people something that they ever needed or that ever actually gave to them in the long run. You would want to be very careful with any type of plant medicine, any type of reality affecting medicine, and that could also be like pharmaceutical as well. So it would be in the interest of most people to really sober up and get into the real outcomes in their lives that can generate a feeling of happiness, okay? Because I find that most people on any type of medicine, on any type of desire plane to, like, I don't know, go to South America and try ayahuasca for 2 weeks and then come back to their urban apartments, they're just trying to remedy their unhappiness. Nothing outside of you, whether it be $10 million, whether it be an ayahuasca trip to South America, whether it be a relationship with that person, whatever, none of that does that. It's just triggering a dopamine response in your brain and tricking you into thinking that you're happy when you're not. We've got to know how to create our own happiness this year, and that's not going to be something that this channel can dictate for you how it's done, because that's different for everybody. People have different purposes, different goals, and they've got to step into their own adventurer's boots and figure out where their happiness is and what they can do to be to be in a state of happiness, instead of relying on exteriors to do it. Because in a way we have to, like, the exterior world plays a role, obviously, in our happiness, but I suppose it becomes all about the construct of reliance. Like when we build up anything outside of ourselves to be that structure, which is going to make me happy, whatever it is, that's when the problem has happened, because we've created a tie or a bond to something that is basically fiat, and it's just because we're giving it value, we're giving it something that it doesn't have. The universe is going to put some things into our life in 2022 that truly evoke happiness without us making these destructive bonds with those things. So that's really reassuring to me to see that true happiness is going to be available for a lot of people, and almost, again, tears of joy level happiness, okay? It's really beautiful, but we don't want to distract ourselves or sleep through this entire year and miss out on some of these visceral experiences, as it is super visceral, okay? Just a quick note on general timelines throughout 2022. Yes, so in the first quarter of the year, like January through March, it's going to highly connect back to the 2021 year cycle. And it's not really going to be until March that we feel this sort of injection of fantasy, but it is going to be there for sure. I'm just looking at the charts and animating through as we talk about a few timelines here. There's going to be huge Pisces stellium in April, okay? And this is going to kind of, yes, put us into that place where we, having Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter in Pisces, to me that looks like understanding what you love, embracing the possibilities that are open to you, walking through some of these open doors, taking your opportunities, dreaming about who you could be, and actually allowing some of these things to manifest. It's also a wonderful, wonderful general time to finish with a lot of things, to having ultimate completion, stepping into some level of ultimate cause, for sure. And as we're moving into May, June, and July, just talking super quickly here, we're going to have huge Taurus stellium, so that Uranus in Taurus is going to get super activated, moving back into the second half of the sign of Taurus. And to me, that looks like a wonderful time to actually embody and get some physical, material benevolence and beauty into your life. It's a very beautiful combination of energies that we have, all this Pisces, all of this Taurus. It's likely for a lot of people to fall in love. It's likely for a lot of people to have soulmate connections, or to fall in love with their purpose, or to connect at a level of soul with their purpose. And by like May and June, there's such a nice opportunity for, I don't know, just having real proof or results of your beautiful life. Okay, I think we've got to allow ourselves a little bit of nice, beautiful results, instead of containing so much of the beauty to just our mind and just to ourselves, as has been so prevalent in 2021. As we're moving into the summer months, okay, northern hemisphere, winter months in the southern hemisphere, it's going to be a huge crescendo of masculine energy. We're going to have Jupiter moving into Aries really quickly there, and all of a sudden the tone is going to change big time in the summer. So what we felt in the first half of 2022 is unlikely to be evoked by the summer, though it will come back by the end of the year. The summer is a wonderful time. I mean, we have Mars moving towards Gemini, Jupiter moving up towards Chiron in Aries, and we have basically Leo season as well, and Saturn in Aquarius, very, very masculine. So it's kind of polarized. In 2022, we have these hyper-feminine Pisces, Taurus, Capricorn things, and then we have this hyper-masculine energy in the summer. So what a wonderful time in the summer to try new things, to feel your heart, to heal the heart chakra, to heal the solar plexus and root chakra as well, as I feel those are way out for most people coming out of 2021. And to just really embrace the magic of humanity, and to understand like really deep foundational human energy lines, and to not get so nebulous and universal. So it's like we go from the lofty universal stuff in the first half to the very ground soil level human stuff in the summer, and it's trying to heal the entire spectrum in between that. I'm just looking forward here. Yes, I'm moving past the summer and into August, September, and October. Mars in Gemini, Libra season coming through. I think Libra season is going to be particularly crowning for a lot of people in 2022. It looks incredible. It's so balanced, the period of time during Libra season with masculine and feminine energy. And it's going to really redo a lot of the structure and framework in our lives into a much more cohesive and resonant. Something that's really right for you can come in during the latter parts of 2022. And it's also really likely that a lot of fear has just dissipated by then. So a great way to work with 2022 as it's moving through, especially once we get to the summer and beyond, there's a need to use this masculine crescendo of energy to dispel and push out some of these old fear spectrums, because a lot of 2022 to me looks like facing fear, and it looks like with our own action, with our own vitality, with our own capacity, overcoming a lot of previous obstacles and blockages and things which were once blocked off, things which were once inaccessible have now opened. It's kind of like a Tomb Raider game. You know, you go through all the puzzles and you eventually open the gates, and those gates seem to be opening, and those cool cutscenes seem to be playing at the end of the level by the end of 2022. So I want us to maybe think of it that way, as with all this Jupiter-Neptune stuff, there's a high likelihood of feeling like you're in a game or you're in some type of alternate reality. You are not. And it's important to know that that's more of a feeling than a truth, but I think that it's a nice little comparison there. As we move into the latter part of 2022, Jupiter retrogrades back into Pisces, and we have a setup, very interesting, that's very similar to how we entered 2022. So we might backtrack by the end of 2022, and we might come back to where we were and with the results. Okay, so by the end of 2022, we have to know really, really clearly what we have, what we resulted in based on all of those quandaries of 2021, based on all of that effort, based on all those gauntlets. What did it give us? And as we move out of 2022, for many people, they have to choose, okay, am I going to step into this thing that I've been generating for such a long time, or am I going to veer off over here? Real choices have to be made by 2022, because we come back into that Capricorn stellium again. Pluto, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Capricorn stellium, obviously, and it re-evokes the 2020 signature of the triple conjunction. So you guys kind of see how things are astrologically moving over these years, where that triple Capricorn conjunction of 2020 that shifted humanity's paradigm is re-invoked, once a year until Pluto leaves Capricorn, which is quite a ways off. And so we kind of have these experiences of moving forward and then refacing, moving forward and then refacing these old things, and seeing how we've progressed alongside the movements of time. But yes, I just think it's really important to know that we leave 2022 with Jupiter at the same exact place that it was when we entered. Okay? Jupiter at 0 degrees Aries. Very interesting. And it says to me that there's a huge adventure in 2022, and it's going to take us into an unknown territory. As Jupiter moves into Aries, we're going to be in pioneer space. We're going to be really benefiting from seeing new things, experiencing new wavelengths. And then we're going to go back, and we're going to re-enter into Jupiter in Pisces, and we're going to return to where we once were with new codes, new purposes, new understanding. And it's going to, I think, be very, very significant how we return past the end of 2022, and very definitive. Very definitive. I'm just getting so many chills about like long-term momentum. So concluding 2022 year overview, this year has a crucial kind of spiritual significance in the sense that the way that we feel our lives as we move through them becomes more connected to true being on our more relevant path, instead of just making ends meet, instead of just making things work. And there is a likelihood of a lot of detours or strange like paths that crop up and branch off, but it's an incredible story, I think, that's unfolding, and it's an incredible adventure to experience. And it's quite ethereal. It has an air of magic to it, and because of that, I'm very excited to see some of the stories and hear some of the stories that people come out of this year with, as they should be very compelling, and they should be motivating to purpose. Okay, it's going to be impossible to avoid purpose. It's going to be impossible to put our heads in the sand. It's going to be impossible to just stay in bed at home under the covers and sit through it, although for some people that might be quite recommendable. But if at any time you're listening to this video in 2022 and you're feeling like, I don't know what to do, this feels really difficult, try to take solace or comfort in the knowing that every experience during this year is going to come together in some type of greater alchemy to catalyze the eventual needed transformation, if it doesn't or hasn't already happened by the time you're listening to this. So really incredible, really incredible. Okay. That's all I want to talk about for now about 2022 overall. Let's jump into the sign to sign. This is a super long video. I'm going to give another ad for the Patreon page. If you want to support this channel and get more info on 2022 or get more content in general, check out the Patreon page linked below. And yes, I am going to now talk about all 12 signs in the year of 2022. Okay, starting out with the sign of Aries. Aries in 2022, it feels so good. You're getting Jupiter preparing to move into your sign, though in the beginning, about the first half of 2022, and then also at the end, it will be in your 12th house in Pisces. So there's kind of this feeling that you're right on the precipice of a new adventure, and you might be like right in a pending phase as you enter the year of 2022. So perhaps working a job that you know is getting you to where you want to be, and kind of this feeling that the new incredible and motivational path is almost right in front of you. This is reminiscent of a lot of the things I've been talking about recently on the channel, as we have Chiron in your sign. It's been in your sign for a long time, so a lot of the collective trauma healing is channeling through the sign of Aries. Meaning that your energy in general is very connected to collective healing. So anything in those areas will be probably very successful for you. Any type of, wounded healer archetype, the energy of Chiron, Jupiter coming up through the year of 2022 to conjoin Chiron almost and then retrograding back. There's a feeling that you're very lucky as a healer, or very lucky as a new concept artist. Again, that this theme kind of coming up for you as well, where you might be best placed in a conceptual role or best placed in a healing role as well. So even if you're working a corporate job, or if you're not in what we might consider like a traditional healing modality, you'll probably find yourself having to like heal something or having to heal other people. So the main obstacle for Aries in 2022 is getting stuck in very unimportant details. So you might get a chip on your shoulder easily. You might get kind of distracted by the contributions of another person or the feelings of another person. You're very empathetic, which Aries is not typically considered the most empathetic sign, but because of Chiron being there, because of Jupiter and Neptune being in your 12th house, there's an incredible psychic and empathetic ability in Aries people right now. And with that, you might be a little bit of a mind reader. You might be very capable of knowing what other people are thinking, of what's beneath the surface of other people. And this makes you very powerful in the year of 2022. I'm not feeling a lot of the hiccups that a lot of the other signs are having. The only hiccup I feel potentially for Aries is being able to feel how others feel and being able to see through their facades. As an Aries, as the first sign of the zodiac, you might get caught up in it. You might be like, oh my gosh, I realize that although this person gives me a lot of pleasantry, they actually don't like me. And I'm getting really caught up in that, and I can't get past that. I can't get past why someone would be nice to my face and not nice behind my back. And instead of maybe going over to the next level and being like, okay, this just means that maybe I need to detach my energy from this person and move forward, you might kind of get caught up in these things. So there's a possibility for Aries of getting caught up in unimportant details, insignificant complexities, things like that. So you want to know going into 2022 that there's a need to kind of ascend and elevate above unimportant details. So if you get an impression that someone being nice to you actually does not have a nice feeling toward you, it's an incredible test to not care about that or to not be beholden or subservient to that, because that state of subservience might prevent you from actually getting to where you need to be. Because I feel that most Aries are being called to level up into a higher level of collective service, with Chiron being in their sign. There's something about relevance or resonance that you have with a large group of people, and that requires that you overcome fear of detraction from individuals, because as you have this ascension, as you have this elevation, as you're almost guaranteed to have in 2022, Jupiter moving into Aries, and then again in 2023. Don't worry if you don't get it right in 2022, because you're going to have Jupiter in your sign for most of 2023 as well. So you've got Jupiter return, right? Well, Jupiter to your sign. If you have natal Jupiter in Aries, it's a Jupiter return. But whatever you have in Aries is getting blessed by Jupiter. So you've got good luck for a lot of this year and the next year. Think about what you might like to apply some good luck to. It's really important for Aries to think in a larger scale timeline rather than getting caught off guard by little unimportant details. Otherwise, it's also a wonderful year to meet new people, to think about your wants above like what you feel is a necessary action to take. Make sure that your actions are connecting with your wants. And it's an incredible year for travel. It's an incredible year for even being in places that you thought you wouldn't want to be, but then having good luck in those places. You have the luck and blessing of Jupiter, but also the challenge of Chiron at the same time. It's a very interesting combination of energy that will lead to large levels of ascension and empowerment if you can get past these unimportant details. So moving on. Taurus in the year of 2022. Also, one of the most activated signs of the year. You have huge Taurus stelliums coming in during your season, so I want you to prepare in advance for your season of this year to be nothing but beautiful and progressing for you. Uranus has been in your sign for quite a long time now, and you should be starting to see the advantage and the vitality and the innovation that this can bring into your life, as it's about halfway through your sign at this point in time. So Taurus, especially who have their Sun or Taurus placements in middle degrees, will have a great opportunity to innovate, to create a new business, to try new things, to experiment with new formulas in their lives and have a great turnout. I would also say that nothing that brings you down, detracts from you, is a bad habit, addictive cycle, or negative coping mechanism can survive your season this year. There's some pretty big sink or swim things coming up for your sign, I've got to be honest. And I would say that that's for every sign, but it's channeling through the Taurus archetype because of Uranus being there, because of the Saturn-Uranus squares that were happening through 2021. And these stelliums that will come up during your season. You can't just rely on coasting anymore as a Taurus. You can't just rely on time-wasting mechanisms, addictions that just pass the time, games that just pass the time, relationships that just are filler experiences. I've talked a little bit about that on the channel a lot in 2021 as well, like filler experiences or things which are just meant to almost be survival mechanisms to trauma. So kind of like Aries, if you heard that forecast, you have Chiron in your 12th house and Jupiter moving up into your 12th house as well. So there's an incredible psychic ability that is maybe a little bit hot and uncomfortable. Aries in the 12th house, especially if you're a Taurus rising person, right? This is a difficult rising sign to have if your chart is oriented that way. because it puts Aries in the 12th house and it's an uncomfortable position for Aries, it leads to incredible psychic progress, incredible empathy progress. But when Jupiter and Chiron are transiting there, as they are this year, it means that there's so much energy placed into this kind of unseen or unknown need. There's a high likelihood in 2022 of like feeling as if something is not satiated, but you can't quite identify what it is. But you're going to have to by your season, because the Uranus in your sign, along with that stellium coming up with the nodes also being in your sign, right? North node in Taurus, there's no ability to deprive yourself of your purpose any longer. And it's going to start to feel really, really just confusing to be passing time in the same way as you did, for example, in like 2016, 17, 18. By 2019 for Taurus, there would have already been a feeling of like, okay, that's what I have to do. Okay, that's my calling. And I would highly recommend for any Taurus person to really be wary of over-conventional, over-materialistic pursuits, okay? We don't have time to just pay the bills anymore, and that's that. A lot of Taurus people take solace in like, if I can just make, enough money to get by on a salary every year and to save a little bit of money and to, just pay my bills, then that will make me happy as a person. Try as Taurus, with Chiron and Jupiter going into your 12th house, with the North Node being in your sign, South Node in your opposite sign, Saturn being square to your sign, there's no hope for just like a materialistic compensation with Saturn square you, North Node in your sign, Uranus in your sign. This is like, I kind of let go of the material side. I kind of stopped being so concerned about money, and I just worked on what I was good at, and because I enjoyed it so much, money and prestige and all this stuff came in. Like, all that stuff is there for you, but you've got to have a stake in what you're doing. Because I see a lot of Taurus people. I've known a lot of Taurus people in my life. I've had deep relationships with Taurus people. I know this sign very well. And every Taurus person I've ever known has this kind of like aspect to their personality, which is beautiful, but it's kind of like tricky in a year like 2022. And that element of their personality usually hinges on, once I make this amount of money and once I have this type of job, I'm done. And that's that. And what happens is they end up getting to that place. And because this is the Taurus-Scorpio axis, the 2nd and 8th house axis, they get there, and that's a huge Pandora's box. And they're like, oh my God, I ended up meeting that goal. I ended up making that money. I ended up getting that job. And what was there was something that I had no clue about. Again, it's like 8th house. It's like Scorpio energy. Once you actually get to that goal, there's a whole new world that opens up. And that's why once we make non-purposeful goals, like for example, just having a money purpose, just wanting an amount of money, just wanting a certain retirement plan, just wanting something, but not having any real emotional stake in what you're doing to achieve that. That's when I see Taurus people really get into some odd places. So what the year of 2022 serves for you, Taurus, is the generation of what that skill set or goal or purpose is that has little to do with money, but has a lot to do with like what you're actually cut out for. And because of that, it's easy and it can become very profitable for you. But I would really recommend in 2022, not just for you, but especially for you, to detach actually a little bit from profit or money ideas. It's going to be hard because the North Node is in Taurus and everybody's going to be thinking about it from that angle. But again, I always say offsetting is really good in astrology. So because you are Taurus, because you are the Venus sign, because you are the money sign, and then because so much is hitting you this year, you want to almost offset it with like, well, on the other hand, I could just have like a body adventure, like an embodied adventure, a grounded adventure. It would be interesting for your sign to travel this year. It would be interesting for your sign to do something that means something to you, okay? I know this kind of sounds like, well, duh, but a lot of Taurus, it's like I gotta wake some of you guys up. Like, a lot of you are not maybe focusing more than 20% of your energy on things which have meaning. You're focusing most of your energy on things which like look good on paper. And everyone's there to a degree, and you're going to progress through that as well. But there's a high likelihood of coming out of 2022 with a huge solution to what was previously a financial problem, to what was previously a purpose problem. If you can't overcome addictions, if you can't overcome dependencies on coping, that will be a little bit less likely, because then a lot of your North Node energy is going to go into like fixing some of these coping mechanisms. But ultimately, if 2021 served for you as a kind of wake-up call and a sober shift into activity that is meaningful to you, I think 2022 is going to bring you incredible resolve, steel resolve, Saturn-Uranus squares that came about in 2021, resulting in this like highly capable individual. So that capability then needs to be invested into something meaningful for you, not just something that pays the bills. I see this awful trend as a societal trend in 2021 as like, wow, I could make like a company and I could like start like an online business and I have no care about what it's actually doing. I don't care at all about like I don't have a stake in this industry or in what's like actually being created or produced here. I just like these numbers. I like being self-employed. I like that, and I don't really care about what's inside of it. That is the enemy in 2022. We've got to merge it together. It's great if you love your industry and you love the producing what you're producing, and then it also is really successful for you. We can apply this elsewhere. Like, I just want the feeling of being in a relationship. I just want the feeling of like having another person to rely on, and then also them relying on me. And I really like the idea of having like a joint bank account and like going half and half on like a mortgage together, and then us both being able to afford a greater house because it's like split in two and the payments are feasible at that point in time. But I don't really care about the person. I don't really care about making this relationship work. I just like the layer above it, like the package look of like, wow, we have a beautiful house because we're splitting this mortgage, and it's not something either of us could afford on our own. So we're essentially like tied together by the bonds of debt slavery. But I like some of the things being produced here, but I don't have any real. We fight all the time, and we can't even stand in the same room together. There's a lot. That's a good hyperbole to like what many people can get into in the year of 2022. Is like things that they like from one angle, but is not, when it's all said and done, what they ever wanted to see for themselves. So how we can avoid that, especially as a Taurus, is just to merge now, is just to look away from these like halfway lukewarm results and just leap probably into true purpose. Okay, that's the best thing you can do. North Node in your sign, it will fruit for you, but that's up to you to understand what it is, and what an incredible journey it might be, especially here in early 2021, to just dream about life purpose. Okay, anyway, next sign. It's beautiful for you, Taurus. Don't worry too much about it. Like, it's an incredible growth that you're having in 2022, and probably very much more enjoyable, much more kind experiences to you, as long as you're not holding up, worlds that you don't really believe in. So Gemini in 2022. Okay, Mars will be in your sign in this year. Lots of fire and air energy. The Leo season is going to be incredible. I want to really recommend that you plan around Leo season, so around July 21st to August 21st. Also Libra season, and your season, of course, but the air and fire seasons are just going to be super fun stuff for you. I feel fun as your keyword for 2022 year cycle. I feel like nobody's been able to really have that much fun lately, at least in an easy way, and there's a need to really just enjoy your experience this year. I think you're going to get into great shape. I think that your body is going to really, like, your metabolism could just click back into place in 2022. I think you're one of the luckiest signs this year. The nodes have moved out of your sign now, because in 2021, you had the North Node in your sign, which would have led to like huge amounts of pressure and huge amounts of like, oh my God, I've got to step up to this plate. But now you've stepped up to the plate, and here you have like almost a relieving kind of like, oh my God, I don't have that same pressure on myself anymore. I can choose whatever I want here. I can actually totally invest in my life in any way that I like. I can have these things serve any percentage of my energetic stake now. And so you step into more control in 2022. You have more resources, it seems, at your command, and you have incredible levels of creative control without quite the pressure of 2021. I think it's an incredible alchemy for you. There is a possibility for higher energy, okay? So you want to channel that. Mars going into your sign, it's easy to feel angry. It's easy to feel wrathful. It's easy to have all of those chemical hormonal experiences. And you want to maybe prepare for that and have new exercise regimens. And also, kind of like Taurus, I will kind of give that message to you as well, where it's like you don't want to have a lot of things that you're contributing to that you don't actually believe in, because that creates frustration. That creates like, gosh, like being paid for a job in an industry that you don't ethically like, okay? I don't know, for example, having running a huge like plastic company or something. It's like making you so much money, and with that money, you feel that you can eventually create something really awesome, but you don't really believe in like the industry that you're propping up. It's a big theme collectively in 2022, and it's being resolved in 2022. You might think about how you can just maybe jump into something that you actually care about now. And I think everybody can learn from you. Like, I think you're going to be called as the sign to kind of demonstrate what this like jumping off into true purpose looks like. So like the Fool card in the tarot, we might all be looking to you, especially around your season and Leo season of 2022, to see how one just says, I put my hands up, I've had enough of this, I'm jumping over here now. Your sign is the best at that anyway. So hopefully over 2021, you've had a lot of time to think about the logistics of that. And if you're getting this video like right when it comes out, you've still got quite a bit of time, really, until honestly, until the end of February 2022. There's a lot of room to blueprint and make logistics, but there's only so much of that can ever be done. Eventually, the bricks have to be laid and the moves have to be made. I like that. It's a nice little rhyme here. We're getting Gemini up in here. The bricks have to be laid and the moves have to be made, and we're going to be looking to you to see how that stays, okay, how that goes. So humor, right, is so important. Try to get less serious in 2022. Try to also travel if you can. Try to experience a different climate. That's good for everybody, but especially for you. And we need to understand the effect maybe that had on the nervous system. Healing your nervous system is good in 2022 through these new sensory experiences. And ultimately, I think that you're going to come out of this year with a slightly maybe more masculine energy. So Gemini has had to really work with feminine energy over 2020 and 2021. And there's this kind of masculine crescendo of energy that leads us to like want to really assert in a very direct way our feelings, our wants, and our desires. So it's really hard for a lot of people past the summer of 2022, past July of 2022, to be doing one thing, but like under the surface, like feeling as if we're going to like do something else with our lives, but not telling anyone, and kind of indirectly contributing to these things, that kind of, in a way, sacred feminine way of progressing in life. Past July of 2022, it's going to get a lot more direct, and you might want to think about that for sure, because Mars is going to energize you to have a direct result. So try to detach yourself from indirect, passive ways of getting what you want, because it's going to fade out of popularity, throughout this year. So I think that Gemini loves that, though, like to be able to directly pursue what they want, to be able to directly speak about their goals and their wants and their progressions, instead of having to kind of navigate these things in such kind of shadowy ways, should be a huge victory for you to be able to get more direct. And at the end of 2022, you're going to probably have an incredible kind of physical body transformation. It's an incredible year for that with you, with Mars in your sign. Like if you need to build muscle, if you need to get your metabolism better, if you need to get healthier, 2022 is a great year to do that. And also just a great year to assert your path in a direct way. So thank you, Gemini. It's a beautiful year for you. One of the best, most luckiest signs in this year. Okay, moving on to Cancer in the year of 2022. What an auspicious, synchronistic, and healing year for you. I think it's going to be one of the best years potentially that you've had in a long time. I feel that to a degree, 2019, 2020, and 2021, all three were friction years for Cancer, where you had a lot of maybe grading experiences, certainly some good experiences, most definitely, but there would have been a lot of kind of detractions or small annoyances that came up in the experience of a Cancer due to the movements of Jupiter, especially as it was in Sag in 2019, then in Capricorn 2020, then in Aquarius in 2021, all three of which are a difficult period of Jupiter's transits for Cancer. So at long last, in 2021, Jupiter is going to go into Pisces, which is going to really open up so many doors for you. It's very likely that anywhere you want to be, you can be. You might have a universal kind of just general sense of acclamation to where you're at. There's a probability of having mastery in your field, of being seen as an authority figure in your field, even if you don't feel like you are that. It's a very wonderful year for a Cancer to start a business, or even further than that, just to really be growing in their sense of ease with what they do. So one of the pitfalls of 2022, if I'm looking for a negative, is trying too hard, okay, with the trine coming to your Cancer placements from Jupiter. There should be an effortless way in which you progress through this year. If you've been working too hard on things as a Cancer, if you are a fourth house person and you have been just pushing so hard to get by, you can, right at the outset of 2022, like January, you can tweak that, and you can get more for less. You can look great doing it, and people will really, I think, admire you for the ways in which you preserve your health while still being in a place of service or service/leadership in your field. Okay, so that is really beautiful to see for Cancer. Finally finding that balance, finding that alchemy. There's something very alchemical about this energy coming up for you in 2022. That said, Saturn will still be in Aquarius for the entire year, so there could still kind of be a unknown factor about how you're going for the long term. Like, you might kind of still feel that your long-term momentum is not quite lining up with your short-term experiences. This could look like being in a job or a career that doesn't necessarily feel harmonious with where you actually want to be. Though I think it's going to wane this year. So I think that this feeling, or this sort of incompatibility that you might have really had hardcore in 2021 with Jupiter and Saturn being in your quincunx angle of Aquarius, that would have felt like, oh my gosh, I'm totally having to give everything to something that doesn't even, take me to where I really want to be. And that would have maybe been a height of discouragement for some Cancer, some fourth house people in 2021, as you felt, like, what am I doing all this hard stuff for? What does it really do for me? And how am I spending my time? How is my life essence being invested? Okay. Automatically moving into 2022, and for all of the parts of 2022 where Jupiter is in Pisces, I'm thinking you're just going to have a lot of abundance of healing. The Pisces Cancer trine is one of the most healing, one of the most ease-oriented, like, things are easy, things come in, things naturally flow, injuries naturally heal, even mental health problems can heal up, or there's a great likelihood of finding a good therapist or a good financial advisor or a good lawyer or someone who heals a lot of, or good astrologer, someone who heals a lot of the turmoil healing. I do need to talk to you guys a little bit about the summer months, though, in the Northern Hemisphere. So July through August, when Jupiter moves into Aries, and we have some Mars, Chiron, Jupiter activity, especially at the end of June. I do want you guys to be ready to channel that in an appropriate physical way. If there's a pent up feeling, if there's a repressing or a putting of pressure onto old feelings, there can be like emotional explosions during the summer months, as that pressure is going to maybe combust, and there's going to be maybe an emotional purging period that comes during that time, only if we haven't allowed for a lot of release during the first 6 months of 2022. So as a Cancer, you need to kind of think about this in the long term. Like, how can I use, January through May of 2022 to really invite healing in? I'm seeing Four of Swords for you, Tarot. I'm seeing also Queen of Cups. I'm seeing the Nine of Cups as well, which is so much Cups energy. That makes sense with that water energy. It's the water tiger year as well. So it's like very, very well. All the water signs are going to do incredible in 2022. What you need to do in the first half of it, though, before June, is try to let a lot of stuff go, try to purge out a lot of this energy, healthy exercise, sweating, sauna, Epsom salt baths, anything that allows you to let stuff out, because by the summer months, that could really get to a difficult point. Also, it's a difficult year for Cancer if there's not been any kind of appropriate closure, just even at the level of self, like not having actually given yourself a closure from old family wounds, old relationship wounds. These can also become very, very, compromising in the summer months. Okay, so there is, despite this being such a healing, such a fortunate year for you, there's still kind of something that you've got to maybe live up to that's going to culminate in the summer months. And again, great ways to channel that is going to be through physical body stuff. Again, the sign of Aries is really taking over in the summer months, mixing with Aquarius, mixing with Gemini energy, mixing with Leo energy. So huge masculine crescendo, right? Which for a Cancer person can be a little bit like maybe tacky feeling or uncomfortable, because Cancer is a, more passive feminine water sign. So you might be out of your comfort zone in the summer, and you might also love that. I mean, if you've got a lot of other fire in your chart, how fun this could be. This to me kind of looks like, an international affair or something for some people, of all different varieties. Maybe it's some type of international business. Maybe it's some type of international romance. Things like that might be coming up for Cancers. And if it's not that, I think it's going to be a major healing of the physical body. Anyway, and by the end of the year cycle of 2022, Cancers, I think that you're firmly back into a solid routine and you're looking to new horizons. I'm seeing Three of Wands. I'm also seeing a little bit Seven of Cups as well. So lots of tarot jargon here, I know. But there's a feeling of totally new horizons on top of a fixed foundation that you will get right in 2022. It's one of the best years for you. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Really watch out for grudges or turmoil, okay? It does not seem that would be nice. The water energy, though, always allows for some type of deep, shadowy, emotional experience as well. And we get to choose whether those are healing or whether those are black swan types of experiences. So that can also happen. And I definitely recommend bringing some light onto the situation and trying to get out of these energetic gutters, okay? You almost have to. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Leo in the year of 2022. Welcome, Leos. Beautiful, beautiful year for you. So the first half of 2022, there might be a feeling that you don't really know how you feel, okay? We've got this strong Pisces influx of energy, Jupiter, Neptune coming together, and that's a quincunx for Leo. So there's a feeling that you might kind of feel like, gosh, I'm afraid I'm going to be derailed by my emotions. I'm not sure how I feel about this job. I'm not sure how I feel about this relationship. Something might feel off, but because it feels off, I think that you inevitably resolve the problem, because there could have even been an issue for a lot of Leo people over the last few years where you might have not even known that something was off, or you might have just been kind of blindly, I don't mean that word in any type of harsh way, but there's a feeling to me in Leo energy ever since that big solar eclipse in 2017 of not really being able to see things for what they are, not really being clear at all. And I don't necessarily feel that that's going to be perfectly resolved in 2022, but I think there's going to be a lot of headway there, especially with the summer months really building you up. If you just heard the Cancer reading, it's the exact opposite for you, where natural healing, natural resolution, and incredible luck, abundance, and benevolence is possible, especially in June, July, and August when Jupiter moves into Aries. You have Mars and Chiron there in Aries, forming a trine, making you very appropriate for healing roles, healing capacity. So you could be rising up as a sort of healing presence in the lives of other people with that Mars-Chiron conjunction, trining you, okay, in the summer months. And you might also just heal stuff so easily, like stuff from your own past, old turmoil that it feels that you've been having to navigate for such a long time, coming through as a kind of easy physical healing process. So there's a likelihood of exercise being healing for you. Solar plexus, heart, root chakra healing, also very easy. There's going to be a great amount of Gemini energy as well, leading up through Cancer season and into your season, which is going to, I think, heal a lot of your communication too. So we have physical body healing, we have communication healing for you. And I think that it's just so important as a Leo person to no longer settle for these dark, mysterious, unclear things. I don't think that it's going to totally just be 100%. Like, nobody knows everything, okay? Nobody just exists in a perfect state of clarity at all times. But I do think you're getting closer to that in 2022. And Saturn is opposing you, right, still, and it was in 2021, so you would have already been seeing in 2021, like, maybe a bit of conflict or a bit of question on the structures you've created. Like, does it work in the long term? Does it really apply to your life force energy? And this is more of a collective problem that everybody's going through, where there's a big question from the universe, like, okay, you've done this, you've created this, you've signed up for this. Now, is it right? Does it make sense with the new paradigm? Does it make sense with the new world? You know, that sort of old world, new world battle that we were talking about in the general part of this video, 1 foot in and 1 foot out of things. You're probably one of the main signs dealing with that. And I think that the adventure aspect of your life needs to be increased, and you've got to look at things a little bit more adventurously, or choose not to cooperate with them anymore. So that in-between place where you're like, I kind of want to do this, but also I don't like it. Either that has to be given an adventurer's tone, and you just got to like buckle up and go for it, or you need to maybe pull out and readjust your focus elsewhere. Something that feels adventurous. You need some type of adventure, I feel, in 2022 with all this fire energy and air energy, especially during the summer months. So if you can do a vacation in the summer, northern hemisphere, winter in the southern hemisphere, from like May until August, if you can take some type of adventure, it doesn't have to be physical, but physical really is the best, because these fire signs, there's really no Sagittarius here. So the two physical body fire signs, Aries and Leo, are the ones coming through. So it's actually not indicated that this is like an entrepreneurial adventure or a philosophical adventure or an education focused adventure. Like, this to me looks like a physical type of adventure that many of you might embark during the summer months. And I think that it will help to heal more than you can imagine. And then by the end of the year, moving into like Scorpio season and beyond, there's a pretty substantial gate. Again, I'm feeling 9 of Cups as the tarot archetype here that really opens up to you by the end of the year. And it's like, are you ready to cross into this? Are you ready to step onto this path? I'm getting hot chills, actually, almost like a fever, but not in a bad way. But it's like, wow, the purpose and the clear ability to just designate your purpose and to just fix it and almost set it into stone is at a high, as we have the nodes making a T-square to your Leo stuff, and then Uranus, and once we get into Scorpio season, it's going to be more felt, because you'll have planets on the side of the North Node in Taurus and then on the South Node in Scorpio creating a T-square to you, and it's probably going to be a little bit severe, just in the sense that, okay, there's a choice here, there's something that you have to do, there's probably a power source or a long-term type of trajectory that you might have to commit to during that time, or you might have to know that it's coming. And I think that it's going to give so much, but it could be, I'll just prepare you for that time of the year, November, December 2022. There's nothing to worry about. There's no fear needed with this, because that's the worst case scenario with this, is just like kind of a looming feeling of fear. If you can just bypass that as the illusion that it is, what this is like an incredible gate, almost like a gate to a beautiful castle, or like these like really incredible architectural gates is the psychic image I'm getting for you, which says to me also, when I'm thinking of a gate, I'm thinking of an area that's typically not accessible. I'm thinking of privacy. I'm thinking of also being somewhat confined to a space as well, which 2021 already gave to a lot of people anyway. So it's important to know, I think, as a Leo, that by the end of 2022, there's, I think, a pretty big choice waiting about how you want to surround yourself, what spaces you want to enter, and where you would also like to be for a while, what types of goals you would like to contribute to for a while. So knowing that that's coming on, that's one of the reasons that I think that adventure is so good through the early, up until like Scorpio season of 2022, so that you can see as much of the world as you can. I mean, traveling seems to be nice for Leo this year. And also so that you can commit fully to this incredible purpose coming to you by the end of the year, without kind of having this lingering feeling of like, but I just want to be free. I just want to go here. I just want to do something, out and about who knows where. It might be good to get some of that out of your system so that you're ready to like sit down and commit to this incredible thing coming up for you by the end of the year. I think that there's very critical stuff you have on your plate in the year of 2023 and and for as long as you like. But I think what I would say to conclude for Leo, I know this one's kind of long, but I feel like it needs a little bit more definition. What I would say for you, if there's any kind of worry about this feeling of like commitment or, totally stepping into a new purpose, I think it's important to know that you have the last call, or that you are the one making the judgment. You are the one choosing. And likewise, when you go into these commitments, you'll also be choosing at that point in time whether you stay or not. So this is not like contracts, really. It's more like the choice or the knowing that one has to be in a certain space to get somewhere, or to finally realize some of these dreams or some of these soul yearnings. But I feel that it's important that you know that your control is going to be there for you. So try to not let this fear of commitment or fear of settling into a certain output prevent you from doing it, or prevent you from committing at all, because things could become a bit hapless. Things could become odd with this for everybody, not just you, but especially the fixed signs. North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio asks for a commitment. It asks for a material. For a lot of people, contract. For a lot of people, promises are made during North and South Node in Taurus and Scorpio. Contracts are signed, and agreements are settled. Usually there's also mortgages, debts, anything like that are very prominent during this time. So we have a bit of a, bondage that we can get into easily in 22. 21 was actually more prominent for this, but because of the nodal shift, it's also there in 2022. And it's good to free yourself from that as much as possible, and maybe commit to more flexible wavelengths, okay? Anyway, let's move on. Okay, Virgo, in the year of 2022, nice kind of, easy stuff coming up again. I love this section of the zodiac from like Gemini to Virgo. It's really getting a lot of, time off, it looks like this year, and a lot of opportunity to just kind of heal and recenter, refocus, Four of Swords type of energy, and it looks beautiful. So 2022 is going to be a wonderful year for you to just kind of let go and let God, to be cliche, to not feel like you have to have your hands in too many things, to not feel like you have to compensate or do like restrictive, difficult diets or restrictive, difficult regimens of any kind. There's a sense of your schedule really easing up, and also you making exponentially more progress at the same time. What a beautiful combination, Virgo. One of the best years I've seen for you in a long time. But it's also going to have some really poignant questions coming up for you. So you have Jupiter in your opposite sign of Pisces, and there are going to be yods for you, right, to what you have in Virgo. When Jupiter moves into Aries in the summertime, and then Saturn is in Aquarius, we're going to get a yod to your Virgo placement. So that's the finger of God angle in astrology. And it means that you might really be able to develop an incredible talent or skill this year. So it's a wonderful year to learn a new skill, to learn a new talent, something that you maybe have no context with, something you've never done. I really invite any Virgos listening to this to think about, what have I always wanted to do? What skills have I always wanted to try but have never given myself the chance to try? This is a wonderful year for developing new skills for you. And it's also wonderful for the resolution crafting. Okay, so finger of God, yod energy is kind of like, and this is now solved. This is no longer an issue. It's like done. Sometimes it does come with friction though, as we have two quincunxes hitting what you have in Virgo. The time of June until August of 2022, you will probably have a high level resolution or some type of incredible bolstering of your energy. Okay, but it could be in response to some kind of austere things. Again, with Mars and Chiron being together during these summer months in Aries, that makes things very high stakes, and not just high stakes, but there's a deep human kind of existential need to step into these purposes or to develop these skills or to resolve these things. It's not just kind of like, well, for no sake, I just kind of, put some stuff together here. This is kind of like big stuff on the line. And it seems to be being solved with ease and fortitude by you. So this isn't about, for you in 2022, there's no need to think of a very complex solution or to go wild trying to find just really creative ways of solving old problems. I think it's going to come to you a lot easier than you're expecting. Also, I kind of feel that Virgo has the advantage of, in a way, working with the sidelines. So with Saturn also not aspecting you in a very direct way, it's very likely that you can just kind of slide out of things, or if something's not making sense, if something's not working, it's really easy to just kind of walk out of it and not suffer that many repercussions. But it's also important to think about significance as well. So with that philosophy that I can just kind of get in and get out of things and, go from here to there, go everywhere, it's easy to also take on a lot of seemingly insignificant things. So that's where the prior context of 2021 should really help you out a lot. 2021 for everybody showed them, a high level of soul purpose, probably about 10 different things that are evocative of, life path, soul purpose, potentialities, and you can really pick and choose any of those to just slip right into right now at this point in time too. Try to watch out though for forlorn experiences. So going places that you might feel a little bit forlorn could be not the best for this time. I think you have to offset these other planets, Saturn, Jupiter in the summer months for sure, and a lot of the other ones hitting you from these indirect angles. You don't have to worry too much about being derailed or being placed in an unsolvable situation, because honestly, the energy is just not activating you too directly, which I think is a huge blessing for you. It gives you a big chance for, just naturally healing and naturally detaching from old wounds. So you don't have to worry too much about someone coming out of the woodwork and causing you a lot of problems. And to me, that looks like a really good opportunity to start piecing together your empire, or to start piecing a lot of stuff together as you have a lot of free room, perhaps without anybody really against you at this time. So that's very advantageous for you. I wouldn't squander this year with a lot of time wasting mechanisms, because you've got a lot of room for growth here, just because of this kind of peripheral experience. So also the major trauma signatures that were in effect for Virgo that we've been talking about for a long time on this channel. If you're a Virgo and you've been watching Virgo readings, you would see how from like 2016 until 2020, honestly, that 4 years for Virgo was really hectic, really chaotic, really direct. And 2021 even was much better from the standpoint of just not having the same amount of trauma. And 2022 is going to take that to a new level. So a lot of it's just adjusting to a trauma-free experience, and that should be really lovely for you. Okay, let's move on. Okay, Libra in 2022. I think that your sign is one of the most activated signs this year. We have Saturn continuing to trine you from the sign of Aquarius, and then we have Jupiter moving into Aries and opposing your Libra placements. We also have mini Gemini activations as well, which will be trining you too. So the energy of grand air trine is coming in for Libra. There are no planets outer planets at least, transiting through Libra this year. So for the rest of people without Libra placements, we just have the Aquarius and Gemini activation. However, during your season, we will of course have inner planets, the sun and the moon, obviously, creating a grand air trine too. But honestly, for you, with your fellow Venus-ruled sign of Taurus also being super activated, I just think it's a year where you can have some of the most beautiful experiences of a lifetime. Honestly, I'm seeing beautiful clothing, appearances, and regard from other people. I feel that Libra in the year of 2022 is so kindly regarded and so kindly looked upon by other people. It's kind of like the energy of fanfare, kind of like the energy of Four of Wands in the tarot. And in that way, I think that marriage could be indicated for some Libra people, and any type of ceremonial undertaking, graduations, promotions, anniversaries that are marking long-term incredible staying power. Okay, so maybe 20 and 30-year anniversaries for some of you, stretching back to some incredible milestones. This is like the energy of milestones for you. I think that the later Saturn in Aquarius is an incredible leg up for most Libra people, as you have a natural structural support that comes in. So successful businesses, successful regimented things in your life, just making things easier and easier and easier, seeing that other people are coming together to help your cause or your contributions. And also, I think that it's just kind. So I'm seeing nice helping hands from other people for Libra in the year of 2022. I'm seeing that you have more people than you know as a support network, and it's kind of artistic as well. Like anything that you've been wanting to do in the artistic field or industry would be wonderful this year. And any type of beauty secrets or I don't know, tips that you have for other people. It could be an incredible time to start like a social media channel or something where you're giving tips about aesthetics or some type of art or some type of education. It's just really indicated that whatever you do, if you're coming to it with your heart in the present moment and not from a fear-based place, not from a really monetarily concerned place either, it's going to land you a lot of appeal and a lot of support, okay? So where things can kind of get weird in 2022 for Libra people is in this nodal shift that we're having where the nodes are going into Taurus and Scorpio. It makes the material physicality behind a lot of these new appeals kind of out of reach feelings. So despite having maybe a really successful business or your reputation perhaps growing to a huge maybe level that you've never experienced in your lifetime before, you might have a lot of like weird gut feelings like, whoa, this is never what I wanted. Whoa, I don't know how this works. Whoa, I don't have any control over this, but it's so powerful. Okay, so Libra's control tendency is not something that has much of a place in the year of 2022, as it's very difficult to control any of the momentums that start in 2022 because they are so much in the hands of so many people, and therefore there's an outcome that's just not controllable. And I think that Libra as a sign might struggle with this more than other signs because also having Jupiter coming in to oppose you, this can lead to polarity, this can lead to emotions that jump from one end of the spectrum to the other. One day you could feel that you're on like the pinnacle of a journey, and then the next moment you're kind of like, I want to be in a totally different place. So if you have a tendency as a person to kind of swing from happy to sad feelings, or security to insecurity, I would maybe do as much as I could to solve that once and for all early on in the year, before Jupiter moves into Aries during the June, July, August, September time period. Because I think Jupiter in Pisces gives you a really deep empathetic connection just with yourself. Like, you can see what you're going through. You can see whether or not you're healthy in a certain situation. And then you can really invite assistance or guidance from other people as well. It's a wonderful year for guidance for Libra. You're, as a Libra person, probably in a few guidance roles yourself. And I feel that it's your turn to be guided. I feel that it's your turn to receive some of these beautiful accolades that you've given other people. Like, if you've helped other people to build their lives, if you've helped other people to understand the statistics and metrics of their experience, it seems that now that's going to turn back on you. So what you've given another person, what you've felt in your heart for other people in that process, is now going to be given back to you in the most pure, clear, concentrated form. So this is a penultimate karmic energy, isn't it, for Libra? So with that in mind, I would pay very close attention to the feeling in your heart when you're, for example, providing a service to another person, when you're working your job, when you're interacting with anybody in any format, whether it's career, whether it's strangers at the coffee shop, whether it's friends, family, the essence of which you greet these people. I'm not talking about just the facade. I'm not talking about the politeness or the formality. I'm talking about the true heart feeling that's going to be given back to you this year. So if you've maybe, here's the thing, Libra as a sign is honestly one of the best signs when it comes to facades and fake pleasantries and sustaining a certain degree of kind environment, even if that's not what they're feeling. So if you're working a job where you actually hate what you're doing and you're faking a kind of like service, politeness to people, that feeling in your heart is going to be given back to you now from other people. And this is going to be really helpful for you because it's going to be a synchronicity to how you really feel. So you don't have to trick yourself anymore this year into thinking, yeah, this is actually really right for me, even though I hate it. It's like doing a lot of good things for my life and I have to be really fake to do it. And I hate it, but like it's working. That dynamic that a lot of people are having actually is going to be shown back to you. And also, if you have a feeling of love in your heart, if you have a feeling of kindness, and if you have a feeling of, kind of service for others, that's going to be given back to you. You will be served, you will be given, and you will be elevated by many other people this year. So there's still plenty of time to get this right. Like, honestly, there's not as much time now, actually, but by the time we get the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions, these synchronicities are going to start really coming through for you. And then the Jupiter in Aries period of time, so by June, July 2022, you will get the real karmic catalysts, okay, opposing you, right in front of you, face to face. And I love it because it's not indirect, it's not passive, it's not misleading. There's nothing too difficult to interpret about these synchronicities with Jupiter and Aries. It's very direct stuff. So later on in the year of 2022, by the time your season comes around, many rewards could be yours, many awards, many honors, many accolades, okay? And also just the main honor, the main accolade is that which you give yourself of the knowing of where you are in relationship to the way you generate your time and space. Like just truly knowing that and truly building regard for yourself through living there and knowing how things need to present different statistics or metrics in the future. Again, I'm thinking of Libra as the scales as a archetype that presents a certain information to people. That is the Libra archetype. That might be changing for you. The way that you present to others, the way that you are serving others or being served by others. That's the main thesis, I think, of your 2022. And the main superpower that you have this year is just honestly telling yourself the statistics of your own experience, knowing where you really are, even if you do or don't like it, like just knowing it and not sugarcoating it, not faking it to yourself. And then after that, not faking it to other people. And after that, having a much nicer, kinder relationship with truth. Okay? Incredible year. Incredibly just I was almost going to say fermenting. I don't know what the word fermenting means to you, but to me that says aging, a wonderful coming to age at this time. So moving on, let's see. Scorpio in the year of 2022. Welcome, Scorpios. Okay, your sign is on the top of the activation list this year. PSA, Scorpios, it's time to step into purpose. The nodes are shifting onto your axis right at the beginning of 2022. If you're a Scorpio who's new to this YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button below. We're going to be talking all about the nodal shift in a specific video very soon. What do I want to tell you? I want to tell you that from every single direction this year, there is some type of activation from Jupiter, from Mars, from Saturn, from Neptune, from Uranus, from the nodes. Okay, so we have an across-the-board type of activation. And when that happens to any sign in astrology, this basically means that the experiences that you go through during this year are sink or swim experiences. Okay, so you have to step up to the plate. You have to be there. You have to show up. Okay, and I think that 99% of Scorpios are already there after 2021. If you didn't show up in 2021, I mean, nothing happens for no reason, but you would already kind of be picking up those pieces at this point in time. And you would know that, and I feel that it would have already reset upon itself, and you would be in a completely different reality with which you can build even higher, okay? But for most of the Scorpios who showed up in 2021, you're going to have to show up in new ways in 2022, okay? So if 2021 was about just kind of like doing a repetitive action over and over again and making deadlines, 2022 is about effective causation. It's about effective choices that change the entire alchemy of the experience. It's really, really deep stuff here because the Jupiter-Neptune conjunct in Pisces, what does that mean for a Scorpio? As that's one of the main transits of this year. Well, kind of like Cancer, it gives you a little bit of a superpower. The water signs, oh my gosh, during a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, your psychic power is going to be off the charts. Your empathy is going to be off the charts. This likely means you might need more time to rest, okay? And you need new ways of channeling that psychic energy. So I'm seeing perhaps like swimming for Scorpios, scuba diving for some type of new aquatic sport. Maybe it's boating, maybe it's jet skis, maybe it's, I don't know, parasailing, deep water or whitewater rafting, deep water diving. These types of things could be interesting. Again, disclaimer, talk to professionals, don't do these things, don't make risks in your lives. Like, these videos are for entertainment purposes only, but it's very adventurous energy for you. Jupiter trining a Scorpio is an interesting kind of like, I almost want to say like blood power, okay? You might have a huge connection to your ancestral lineage during this time, as Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces is kind of like expanding the energy of the dead or of the no longer present, almost like far plane energy. And Scorpio is really a conduit for this type of thing. So mediumistic experiences are possible for Scorpio. And being able to know the truth of pretty much anything you're involved with. So with that, especially in the beginning of 2022, so the first quarter of 2022, you can basically get to the bottom of anything you're involved with. You can see it for what it is, and you can have a very keen look into like the sausage factory of different industries or of a lot of aspects of life. So with that, there's a lot of room to build and manifest a perfectly functioning or even inflated functioning reality. I've talked a lot about some of the factory archetypes that came up over 2021. where there was a big energetic push for repetitive, consistent energetic vibrations, almost like the energy of a factory. And that's going to disperse a little bit in 2022, and there's got to be more creative and energy honoring seasonal approaches to, for example, businesses or any type of energy output. So humans aren't factories. It's important for Scorpios and for all signs to know that this year there is a seasonal aspect to the human experience. And if you're a Scorpio who understands seasonality, you will inherently do so much better this year. Okay, the South Node is in your sign for the most of this year, and you're going to kind of feel it at some points of the year, especially when there's something in a fixed sign, like all the fixed sign seasons, and then your season as well. And the South Node in your sign means that, again, there's a kind of arcane past life injection of intelligence or energy, and then that combining with the Jupiter-Neptune trine in Pisces, again, the psychic, almost intuitive, ancestral, ancient knowledge coming through Scorpios is really... I've never seen anything like this, actually, in my time as an astrologist. As a Scorpio myself, I'm very excited to see what this brings in, because it's a very... and other astrologers out there, what do you think of Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces trine Scorpio placements with South Node also there in Uranus, like opposite in Taurus? With Uranus opposite, it gives it like a sort of industrialized magician type of capacity. Do you think Sky is an industrialized magician? That's maybe that's what I'm doing here right now. I'm kidding. But that's really, really interesting energy combinations. And it's not something that we can really predict that well for, but I would say that your energy is going to increase. I think you're going to be able to do you're going to have like the energy of maybe 3 different people. Let me clarify that can mean different things to different people. Like, you have so much energy that it's almost like you're doing maybe the jobs or the efforts of 3 different people, and maybe we got to tone that down a little bit so that we don't burn out, although that's unlikely this year. With all this water energy, burnout is unlikely. And then the summer is really interesting for you too. What an awesome time it would be for a Scorpio to go to the desert during the summertime with this sudden masculine crescendo of energy. The Jupiter in Aries, the Mars in Gemini, Mars in Aries as well. It's going to move really quickly throughout the summer. And Chiron in Aries, again, Mars energy is going to get so strong, which is your traditional ruler. So the masculine side of Scorpio energy is going to be coming out as blatantly as the feminine side in the beginning and the end of the year. So the beginning of the year with the Capricorn Pisces energy is a very feminine expression of Scorpio energy. Then the summer is very masculine, and then it moves back. So there's such a kind of transcendental wavering still here. So that's kind of like, I was getting a little bit tired of that wavering energy in 2021, but it seems to still be here in 2022, though expressing in a more outward way. Also, I'll say there's a likelihood in 2022 for Scorpio to totally, in a way, be able to fathom of a sort of perfect lifestyle for yourself. So comprehensive lifestyle adjustments. Ooh, I love that. Comprehensive lifestyle adjustments for Scorpio that are not seeming like a downer or not seeming like boring, okay? And I see a huge expansion of health. I see it's almost like if you were a flower, you are blooming this year. And I just love to see that. There's a great ability to quickly diagnose problems, quickly assert meaningful changes, and to just resolve things. That potential is there, but it's going to require kind of rising above a lot of some of the maybe smaller stuff that you were involved in. Like, if you can think back like 5 or 6 years at this point in time and see how much you might have expanded your viewpoint or your perspective, and also the way maybe that your ethics as a person have changed, or ethics is not quite the right concept. It's more like what you now believe in versus what you don't now believe in. I feel that there's a need to merge that shift in with what you're doing now. So it's important for things to be updated, okay, in the year of 2022. updates to the lifestyle, updates to businesses, updates to anything that's feeling out of time. So if you're having synchronicities that indicate things being blocked up or old or out of time, so synchronicities can include like blocked drains in your houses, not being able to keep the house clean very well, having a constant kind of feeling of lethargy, feeling lethargic often, any type of fatigue, any type of endocrine health issues. These are signs that things are kind of maybe out of date and you're having to push like hard to keep them relevant. So pay close attention to that. That's one area of problem for Scorpio in 2022 is losing relevance or doing things for the sake of doing them. It might just have to be that way for some Scorpios, but you want to plan for the overcoming of that, or just assert that during this time. Okay, I think that finding yourself is very likely this year. I think that solutions to old unresolvable quandaries is those solutions are here, and they will likely come in unfamiliar surroundings. So you might be called to visit a place you've never visited before, and that could bring to you a lot of just incredible answers. And if you're not called upon and like you don't just have to visit somewhere that you've never been before, I would recommend it. I would recommend going somewhere, even if it's just 20 miles away, that you've never been before, because I don't really think that you're going to come to solution points in the same old place, because your muscle memory is so adapted to certain unresolvabilities with these sensory stimulus, okay, that you're so accustomed to at this point. So that's a great key for you to know. If you have things that you can't figure out, get in new territory this year. Though if you've already figured stuff out, enjoy the solidity and security of this experience here. This is really a blooming year for you, Scorpio. Congratulations. Let it be what you want it to be. And let these bigger purposes start to be accessible by you. Very 9 of Cups energy. Okay, let's move on. Sagittarius in the year of 2022. Okay, so this is a very fun energy that I'm feeling for you, as it has been for a lot of the signs. I've been very pleasantly surprised as I've gone through this comprehensive video in just how I feel that the fun factor is going to really increase for a lot of signs, and the sort of awe of nature and the mystery of life becoming a fun maze. A maze it may be, though it will, I think, be quite fun. So fun mazes, perhaps for the sign of Sagittarius in 2022. There's kind of like a magician in smoke, like disappearing, as I'm seeing as a psychic image for you. So you might be disappearing out of one place and moving into a new place. I'm seeing moving for a lot of Sagittarius, travel for a lot of Sag people in 2022. And I don't know, just really synchronistic and, again, magic realism types of experiences, Jupiter and Neptune squaring you, which could lead to a lot of incredible humor. And that particular square for Sag is not a bad one. There can be friction in the way that, like, philosophy and feeling sometimes conflict. And, what is the difference between a philosophy and a feeling? Or how do feelings or emotional responses create or generate philosophies? That could be a little bit of a hiccup for you, as the universe might show you the downside to some of your philosophies right now, but it quickly motivates you to spur new philosophies or create new ones, and I think that will be really lovely. This year is great for business. It's great for ceremonies, great for just ascending or elevating into a goal that maybe took you forever to reach. I'm seeing a lot of Sagittarius with like 10 plus year long goals that finally are in completion stages right now, with your ruling planet being in the very final sign of Pisces. And it's really important to understand why things have taken the amount of time that they've taken. So time is going to be a big learning curve for you this year. You might have really kind of messed things up with time, as everybody does at times in their lives. But over the last few years, ever since Saturn was in your sign in 2017, you might have some very prime examples of how you might not want to spend time anymore. And you might fix that in 2022 and have incredible healing and incredible resolve because of your solutions that you create for time spending or time management. Your ruling planet Jupiter is in its exalted sign of Pisces. Things, in a way, have to be awesome, have to be great, have to be exalted. So thinking of your highest purpose, thinking of your highest goal is wonderful in 2022, and stepping into those paths, perhaps disappearing out of some of these old non-purpose oriented paths and appearing in the ones that are purposeful. One of the most important messages for Sag that I'm getting is you've got to get out of your head in 2022. So the previous year of 2021, with the nodes on your axis, North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sag, meant that you were feeling your purpose. You were feeling where you needed to be, but there was a tendency to really overthink and keep it confined to the mind instead of materializing those things. And as the nodes are moving to Taurus and Scorpio, there has to be a materialization. So it's really important to get out of the head a little bit and to move into the body. And yes, into action, okay? Especially by the summer months, okay? You want to see with Jupiter and Aries that you have, I don't know, a marathon to run. Maybe you have a some type of incredible athletic pursuit to do during that time, or some type of pilgrimage to make, some type of crossing of a desert, some type of, I don't know, crossing into another country or something. I feel that Sagittarius have got to get out of their confines a little bit in 2022, because 2020 is so okay, this is important. I'm so happy this is coming up. We've talked on this channel around many Sagittarians being stuck in that 2020 time of Jupiter in Capricorn. I personally have a lot of Sagittarius placements, and I still haven't quite gotten out of some of the not so healthy mindsets. It's not that they're not healthy, it's just that they're not super productive, not super, contributive to a greater experience of life. It's very confining and pessimistic energy of Jupiter in Capricorn that was in 2020. And it's like that got reimposed over 2021, and there's another part of you that might be like, okay, reimpose it again on 2022, over-regimented, hyper-perfectionistic, hyper-control-oriented methods of lifestyle needing to go. So Jupiter in Pisces has no space for the Jupiter in Capricorn energy line. Like if you're just like totally remaining in a state of control, pushing yourself past your limit in a very regimented way, that can be a big threat to your psyche in 2022. So we need a more fluid, flexible approach for Sagittarius in 2022. It was needed also in 2021, but a lot of you might have felt like you just didn't want to risk your formula, or you didn't want to make any changes in an attempt to have like a security or a predictability about your life. Sagittarius is one of the least predictable signs. So anytime that they get into a state of demanding predictability, we have a bit of a problem. I think you're going to get really fired up by the middle and third quarter of 2022. And you might want to really shake things up. You might want to really see that your lifestyle is changing. You might even feel more social. You might feel, with Mars and Gemini and the big Gemini influx of energy coming in the summertime, you will likely have an incredible remembrance of your nature and the beauty and abundance of it. And it's wonderful to say goodbye and to release the overdoing tendency or the workaholic tendency, or the because it's one thing to be a workaholic, but it's another thing to be a workaholic in something that doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's very possible from the 2020 year cycle. So it's super, super important for Sagittarius to perhaps reduce output and increase quality. Less quantity, more quality. That could be wonderful for you. Or just a completely different structure of how you are meeting your basic needs. So that could go all the way down to the level of food intake, cooking for yourself, the time of day that you exercise, the time of day that you work, all of those things could have a complete washing out this year. And that is very hopeful looking to me. When I feel that, it's not like an uncomfortable washing out unless you are particularly connected to repetition and again, predictability. If you're a Sagittarius with like a lot of Virgo or Capricorn or Cancer in your chart, you might have a very strong internal need to try to basically bridle yourself up and serve some type of, I don't know, sixth house type of experience. That is going to be impossible in 2022. There's not going to be much huge level of control that you can place onto these things. So it's very freeing. It's very liberating. And wouldn't it be nice to look forward to that? Okay. I'm seeing a major liberation for you in the year of 2022. And I'm seeing like wonderful food, nice recipes, people who are hearty in your life. So like not flaky people, as I feel that your sign has had a horrible run with like flakiness in acquaintances and relationships over the last like 17 millenniums. I'm just kidding. But that is changing now. And it's going to lead to a material change in your life too, when you basically see how requited and needed you are in the lives of other people. And that's going to give you a self-esteem boost, which is going to give you perhaps an image boost, which is going to give you a reputation boost, which is going to give you a financial boost, which is going to boost you. You got to be ready to invite that in though, because it's coming. Okay. Try to maybe have mantras this year as a Sagittarius that I am open to receiving the answer, the resolution, the boost, the health. Like I'm open to it. Like I'm not going to convince myself anymore that I can't figure this stuff out. It's great for sort of motivational headspaces like that. Okay, let's move on to Capricorn in the year of 2022. Okay, hello Capricorns. We have a very interesting alchemy coming up for you in 2022. Your sign is called to have a little bit of a think and a little bit of a reimagining perhaps of some of the long-term commitments. I feel that they're very, for many Capricorns, some of the long-term commitments have lost some of their significance, and the universe is really calling a lot of Capricorn people to consolidate their abundance in a different way. So I'm seeing a pretty big shift for most Capricorn people in the way that they cultivate wealth and prosperity in their lives. And that is going to be swimming for you. Again, as you've probably heard, if you've been listening to the other signs in this video, that this is a year of fun. It's a year of abundant expansion. It's a year of sort of magic realism. It's really special. It's a really special year. And it's going to be that way for you too, Capricorn. But I've got to say, your sign to me sticks out the most as a sign that needs to update your systems, or you need to perhaps accept that there's a certain expense or a certain context related to the things you're partaking in. Like if you, let's just get hypothetical here. Imagine being a real estate investor and never expecting to pay a maintenance bill and becoming derailed psychologically when you have a repair bill. We have the energy for Capricorn, perhaps over 2021, of having gotten ourselves into some things that we maybe didn't anticipate what it was actually like to be in a role like that, or what it was actually like to not kind of go belly up within a certain experience. So there's kind of a feeling of going belly up. There's a feeling of like exiting certain outputs of energy. Why is this the case? Well, we have Taurus, Scorpio nodal axis, and we have Jupiter moving from sextile to square to you, Mars Chiron squaring you, and Saturn in semi-sextile. So there's a high likelihood of like being involved in things that are kind of peripheral or numb feeling, okay, coming out of 2021. And in 2022, there's a great ability to kind of, get a little bit more significance. It's very hard for your sign in 2022 to be like halfway involved in something. Like, I love the real estate industry, but I don't want to pay maintenance bills, and I want to be in this place where I'm like just letting things run down, and I'm not going to pay the maintenance bills, but I'm going to stay in the game. These types of wavering places will be much more difficult in 2022. So it's like either commit or leave. Honestly, for many Capricorns, I've got to tell you guys, like it's either like sign up for it and follow through with it or get out of it. Like this is not just your sign, this is collective, but perhaps your sign might be exemplifying this, where we maybe want the universe to create a special context for us where we so happen to be the real estate investor who never pays a maintenance bill, or we so happen to suspend disbelief in a way where we allow things to run down and nonetheless we pocket surpluses, but we're not really being responsible for what we have. What's causing this? Well, it's the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces. That makes it very easy to suspend disbelief, very easy to have false significance within a situation. Capricorns, what I think you need to do, Pluto so late in your sign, these Capricorn stelliums re-evoking the 2020 signature of triple Capricorn conjunction every Capricorn season, and that's still echoing in your experience. If I were a Capricorn, I would place aside some of these like big power games or some of these like big money, like big endeavors, and I would focus on my art. I would focus on the things that really matter in life, like rebuilding relationships, apologizing to that person, receiving an apology from another person, writing music, putting your songs out there, getting your art in front of people, spending extra time in a creative space. This is beautiful for you from like January to May, and then again from like September to your season in 2022. The summer months are another story, but if you could be creating in that time and not being obsessed with like drudgery things like maintenance or cleaning or things like that, it's a wonderful time, for example, for you to maybe hire like a help or some type of staff to handle like drudgery, because it kind of feels to me that Capricorn's going to be a little bit like out of it, and perhaps it's not the most auspicious year to be facing a lot of like I's to dot and T's to cross. I mean, unless your profession is involved in that, like if you're an accountant or a lawyer, I suppose that's just what you have to do. But I feel that even you might need to have a second set of eyes on things, because it's very easy for everyone to kind of be a little bit off with some of the super precise aspects of life with all this Pisces, all this Neptune energy. So what if I told you a little crazy secret right now, Capricorns? What if I told you that your sign is one of the most blessed signs in the year of 2022? You know, after I'm telling you about this kind of harsh stuff about not being halfway in stuff, or maybe even being given ultimatums by like landlords or tenants or business partners or something about like how off things are, or being like faced with a lot of criticism while also being one of the most blessed signs of the zodiac. Because those very swords element stuff, you know, like the swords suit in the tarot, are going to ultimately motivate you into the right place and into the perfect place for you. Like, you're not going to be able to just stay in lukewarm places. Like, people are going to give you a hard time. Like, if you're in a sort of lukewarm or in between, 1 foot in, 1 foot out situation that you don't really like, but you're staying there because it's like working out and it's not really furthering your purpose, but it's like keeping your bills paid or something. Like these kind of lukewarm life experiences, you're not going to be able to stay there, and that's going to end up being a huge blessing. Okay, so I'm trying to craft a kind of reassuring vibe for you that if you have a few like harshness, or if you have any harsh words from another person or harsh encounters, that can be very difficult on Capricorns. They seem to be very tough. They seem to be very Teflon, and they can like really handle anything in business or anything in interpersonal relationships with a stoicism. But I know that you are all kind of hurting for a little bit more love in your life and are needing more softness, needing more kindness from other people. So it could be very difficult, even in 2021, but even more in 2022, to be getting like, I don't know, an angry letter from a tenant of a house that you rent out, like really perhaps saying mean things about you personally. Like, it's not even about the house. It's like about like the nerve of your, I don't know, quarterly inspections that you're imposing or something. You know, there could be things like that. And as you have that, you're maybe getting discouraged or wondering why people aren't just like a little bit more grateful for what you're providing them. Because I feel that you're also providing so much for so many people. Like, you're increasing the value of so many people's lives, but at the same time, they have like harsh words for you. It has to do with a ricocheting or an echo of the triple retrograde Capricorn conjunction of 2020, where you were basically established as the most powerful sign in the zodiac, with the most like ability of any sign to influence the context of the lives of others. And because of that exuding of power, there's automatically a resentment from other people when they sense that reach that you have. So this is why I'm suggesting, like, it depends on the Capricorn. It depends on what they want out of life. Like, if you're okay sort of being that like cold and reputable like CEO or landlord or figure of some kind, and that's like what you want, I would say that you already have that now, and you can be in that place and, I don't know, do that. But I feel that every single Capricorn wants more warmth, and they're like, okay, so this is kind of a cold and kind of glacial feeling of power that I have as a Capricorn, and I see that I have it, and I see that I'm like in control of all these situations and all these people. But where is the human element? Where is the warmth? Where is the love or even art that I used to experience? Well, you can have that now again if you want to, but it's going to require perhaps relinquishing some of these very 10th house oriented things, or at least putting it into the hands of other people. Like, you know, there are a lot of creative ways to navigate this energy, but that warmth is going to open back up to you, especially with Jupiter and Aries. With even the Pisces conjunction can give a sort of carnival or illusory experience of connection. But as I'm thinking about this a little bit more, because I don't want this to just sound like a negative year ahead forecast, because it's not a negative year for Capricorn. If you can, you know, survive 2020, you know, you can do anything. But I think if you were to really regard the suggestions of another person with kindness and esteem, that it would really just send you through the roof with regard from other people. Like, you'll basically get back what you're putting in. Like, if you're being kind of like immovable or super static with your energy, like you won't budge, you won't take into consideration the assertions of other people, they might also not take yours either. So it's kind of like a mirror. You know, this year is a huge mirror, and that gives you the ability to basically project what you want in return. So I suppose it's kind of like golden rule stuff, you know, like do unto others as you would have them do to you. I mean, it's simplistic ways to get out of this, like that, you know, being able to be empathetic. As your sign is getting more and more empathetic, it's getting harder and harder to deny that empathy. It's getting harder and harder to ignore the state of other people for you. And working with that will get you far. Art can be a great way to expand that, music. And I would really book it away from things that are harsh, you know, like serving an eviction notice to a tenant. You know, I would be very worried about like disinheriting people. I would be very worried about trying to sue a business partner or something, trying to do legal action against people, trying to bring terror into the lives of others as a Capricorn will be very, very hard this year. Why this is coming up is because Saturn is basically totally out of your chart. It's in late degrees of Aquarius. So for the Capricorns out there, for people with Capricorn placements, you have your ruling planet is not touchable for you. You don't have any of your own Saturn essence. All you have is Pluto for most of this year until we get back to Capricorn season in December 2022. So what that means is that your exercising of power is going to be coming from like the underworld. Like it's going to be extremely isolating. It's going to be extremely, it's going to feel scary. It's going to feel like, what can of worms have I opened? It's going to maybe give that sort of bloodlust feeling that Pluto can give, but it's not going to be conducive to any type of like human contact or human development of relationships. Okay. Any type of tyrannical power moves, any type of like trying to punish people in your life. Why this is coming up is because you're coming off of that triple conjunction when Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter were in your sign in 2020. That meant that at that period of time, like, I don't know, you could have like run for president or something. You could have like done all sorts of crazy stuff, but that's no longer in timing. But when you live through a transit like that, it lasts for a lifetime. So you have to now grapple with that exposure to power, deep foundational earth power energy. And you don't want that to be like just bleeding out onto the people that you love in a negative way, because that can happen. And you want to be really careful for like egotistical expressions of that energy. I feel that there must be healthy ways to express that energy, and maybe you're the only ones that can really present that at this point in time, and I'm not going to try to figure that out. We'd be here all day, but it just feels important for you to know that now that Saturn is not there, now that Jupiter is not there, now that Pluto's the only one that's there, none of that power expression is going to be something that feels particularly rewarding in a human sense. But there is a lot of hope for like brand new ego evolution, the creation of new projects, the creation of new art, the creation of this being something that helps a lot of people. It could be very interesting to start a charity if you're doing it for the right reasons. I mean, rarely do people do that for the right reasons, but something like truly philanthropic could be an incredible use of this energy. Also something that deals with fixing the rundown. This is how Pluto energy can really be harnessed in a positive way. Like, imagine a community that has gone into like devastation or destitution. Pluto and Capricorn can come in and totally reinvigorate that community from the ground up, building new structures, building new, new infrastructure, things like that. If you can harness this energy in a way that's really helpful to people, instead of like, evicting a bunch of people from like your rental properties, or like suing someone because they looked at you the wrong way, or like trying to negotiate lower prices with like small businesses just because you're addicted to negotiating lower prices, not because you can't afford it. That would be an example of channeling this energy in a difficult karmic way. Otherwise, we can use this energy to like totally reinvigorate our community, to totally reinvigorate our household, to heal family wounds, heal estrangements, and to reach new levels of artistic expression. And that forges these human connections. So I just wanted to really, I hope that this 2022 year ahead forecast for you, Capricorn, did not feel too severe. Check out your sun, moon, rising sign. For many, many, many of you, this is not really how it is at all. You've already come past this. But for those Capricorns struggling with this power complex, I just wanted to provide this for you now. And it's good even if you've already transcended this, just to get validation of like the power and the energy that you are fostering, and the negative and positive iterations of that. Okay. Let's see. Let's move on to Aquarius in the year of 2022. Only 2 more signs left. What a long video, perhaps the record for the longest video on this channel. Kudos to any of you who have gotten this far. Yes, if you've gotten this far and you want to support this channel, you can hit the join button below, subscribe, check us out on Patreon. It's all below. Aquarius 2022. Thank you so much for coming to check out this reading just for you. Okay, so the pressure releases in 2022 for Aquarius. You've had this year of 2021 with Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in your sign. I can only imagine how empowering and how much life force energy you probably felt expand into your world. Though at the same time, I know that having a Jupiter-Saturn conjunct in your sign, what are the odds? It only happens every 20 years, and then for it to be in your sign has a huge connotation. It means that you are becoming sort of a cutting edge, maybe leader of human sort of spiritual expansion, and you will in 2022 be continuing down that avenue likely considering how you want to expand it further. So it's a wonderful year for you to take some of the stress off, knowing that you don't have quite as much life force energy just channeling through you in such a raw way. You can make even more progress this year than you made last year. Some things that I want to talk about quickly for you that should now be being overcome. So you should kind of see that you walk with a bit more confidence. Try to not look down while you're walking. Try to really open yourself up and see the horizon, see the breadth of the world around you instead of confining yourself to a very small and meek place. I feel that your sign has grown, and I feel that you as an Aquarius person have really increased your energetic size. So try to exude that within your posture and within your movement through your space, and you could see some incredible results from taking that type of approach. Also, there's just a high likelihood of extreme levels of support from other people. As you've heard from other parts of this video, likely by now, the Jupiter in Pisces moving to Aries, Mars moving through Aries and Taurus and Gemini. This leads to a very masculine crescendo for you, and it allows you to pretty much dictate how you want your expansion to go from here. For you, it's less of a conversation with the universe, and it's more of a choice of what you want. I mean, sky's the limit for you, honestly. You can kind of step into any door, step into any place. And I understand that that kind of becomes overwhelming at a certain point in time. Like, how do we choose what door to step into? I'm sensing that there's going to be a lot of time for you in 2022 spent enjoying fantasy, perhaps enjoying some type of perhaps reading or gaming. That can be actually good for your sign to offset the huge undertakings that I feel you've had to also sign up for. I mean, business expansion, career expansion, financial expansion in general is likely. And more than this, just maybe enjoying the space that you're in more. I mean, it's good stuff coming in here. I hate to even look for any negatives. If I'm trying to pull negatives out of this, I mean, you might kind of feel like it's hard to please people. You might feel like it's difficult to find resonance with what you're watching or what you're consuming as well with the Pisces influx of energy, Jupiter and Neptune. It's possible that all of the semi-sextile energy, Pluto and Capricorn, Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces, you might kind of feel like everything's very peripheral or you're kind of just barely missing something. But at the same time, I just feel like you are in the perfect place. So I suppose that that's a difficult dynamic sometimes when you're actually where you need to be, but you're questioning it. Okay, I would keep my eye out for that. I would keep my eye out for a need to question everything. Like, Aquarius can be quite rebellious, and it is quite often in the role of devil's advocate. That might be troublesome this year. It might be better just to accept or just to start to enjoy the true beauty of your surroundings instead of questioning it constantly. And something else I feel that we need to talk about for Aquarius is the Saturn-Uranus squares that happened over 2021. Having Saturn in your sign and Uranus in Taurus might have led to a lot of hard choices, square pegs and round holes, and just not knowing how to cope with the level of output that you had in front of you. That's going to mainly resolve in 2022, though I will tell you that around the time of Taurus season, so late April and early May, there could sort of be a possibility to be facing that feeling again. Even though the Saturn-Uranus squares are never quite cropping up in the way they did in 2021, we're going to have to deal with the fallout from those frictions, from those frustrations. And because of that, you might find yourself in a bit of indecisiveness, and also it's easy to be frustrated with the old things in your life or the old systems, or also people who do not agree with you or people who do not see things the way that you do. There can be conflicts or disputes or easy argumentative tendency as well. But if you can accept other people's opinions and allow them to not be such a determining factor for your state of well-being, just imagine allowing the opinions of others to dictate your own well-being. That is something to definitely overcome this year. And, otherwise, Aquarius, honestly, for your energy, I'm feeling like you've kind of got a lot of stuff figured out, okay? I mean, you don't really need a huge amount of guidance here. You don't really need someone to tell you what to do. You're in a very authoritative place, I feel. And you've done a lot of stuff right. Just pay close attention to frustration, to unresolvable issues, things that you can't figure out, and maybe choose other areas than that. But other than that, it's a huge relief. It's a huge load off this year as you have a little bit less contact with like the live wire of universal energy that pumped through you in 2021. Try to understand the view or the unmuted understanding of like what your life purpose was in 2021, and try to keep taking gradual steps toward that, because you can make a lot of progress this year in different ways. So anyway, let's move on to Pisces in the year of 2022. Okay, Pisces, final sign for the 2022 year ahead forecasts. I'm really excited to talk about you, as you are indeed the most activated sign of 2022. No doubt. It is not very disputable, as this incredible Jupiter-Neptune conjunction happening in your sign multiple times this year, with retrogrades, with all kinds of movements, indicates that you are going to have a very exalted experience. Jupiter is exalted in your sign. It is the ancient ruler of your sign. Neptune is at home in your sign. These two coming together is a great and incredible benevolence. So I think that this is the year of a lifetime for you. If you're feeling discouraged, not quite 100%, not quite sure of what to do with yourself, rest assured the year of 2022 is going to right things. It's going to right a lot of wrongs. It's going to clarify. Well, I don't know if it's going to clarify, because, it's Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces. It's very infinite, very universal. But it's so rare. It's so distinctly you that there's a very high likelihood of finding your soul tribe during this year, of having incredible relationships of platonic, romantic, familial nature. Like, things can just really come into alignment for you this year. And at the same time, it's likely to be quite emotional. I talked in the beginning of the video about tears of joy, about all kinds of tears, very likely in 2022. As you see yourself really stepping up to a certain plate, or finally embracing your purpose and your soul calling. I also feel that your endurance is called into question this year, as the endurance it takes to process all of that energy is sizable. Okay, so you might want to do any type of endurance training or any type of strengthening of your resolve and endurance. Also, it's a wonderful time to finally commit to some type of artistic or slightly unconventional path, if that is something that you're moving toward. Though any types of commitments seem quite benevolent this year, as Saturn is kind of out of your chart, and the Jupiter exaltation with Neptune at home says that you're very open to what's right for you, and miracles can even be possible, actually, I think, for you this year. I would really let myself be available to experience some type of dramatically positive change. What are the concerns that you have about your life? What are the concerns that you have about things in general? Maybe understand those and really invite solutions and healing experiences in, because I think they will come if you're open to them, and maybe even if you're not open to them. I almost feel that even some Pisces who are like completely rejecting positive changes won't be able to, almost. At the same time, with Jupiter and Neptune, sometimes it's not always positive either. I mean, that's a huge magnification of anything, like double dose of exponentially intensifying, expansive, abundant energy. I don't completely know how to qualify it, honestly, because that's just maybe a type of power that humans are not so familiar with. Again, if we think of 2020 and the triple Capricorn conjunction, that's a very human type of power. That's a very earthly type of power. This type of power, this Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces, is an ethereal power. It's a metaphysical power. It's a water element power, not so much an earth power. So the psychics, the artists, the intuitive people, the people with very honed instincts, very honed throat chakra, third eye, crown chakra, are likely to have huge expansions this year. But it's easy for it to get out of control too. So we have to maybe be methodical, and we have to, on one hand, expand our previous limitations and then also set new ones. Okay, so we don't maybe just want to pretend we have an infinite bank balance or pretend that we have an infinite level of energy, that we are essentially never-ending factories for output, because that can happen with this transit too. And I would say that you need to refigure your boundaries, and also maybe have a change in location or change your feeling towards where you live. That could be likely with this. Again, Pisces erodes boundaries. It passes through the seemingly unsurpassable. So we can't necessarily wrap our minds around it. We can't necessarily define what it is, but we can know that there is a exceeding of limit. There is perhaps a surpassing of boundary. There is perhaps a great level of new development of some kind. As for the other transits relating to you over this year, Pisces, I think that, like many of the other signs, it's very important to have fun. It's very important to make new healthy sources of fun in your life. And as you innovate those things, I think it's going to lead to a blooming. It's going to lead to a flowering of your essence. And as that happens, I'm seeing material growth. So with the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, it's very good for you. It's a very intuitive growth. It's a very natural and fulfilling growth that's open for you, much more than the previous 2021 year cycle with the Gemini Sag nodal axis. Though both are quite good for you, honestly. Like 2021 and 2022 would have at least showed you like a glimpse of like your purpose or your higher significance to the experiences you're having. Ultimately, I'm feeling that your overall arc in 2022 is totally at your control. It's totally being manifested by you, and you can choose whether this is like highly fulfilling or slightly mundane. And it's just depends on what you want, you know. Try to try to be careful about thinking that you have no power over your life, that other people are in control of you, that you don't have the will or the capability to change your experience. Any type of powerless doctrine would be difficult for this year, because this year I feel is trying to show you the infinite possibilities that are here. And it kind of takes a lack of rigidity, or a lack of over traditionalism, over growth of conventionality being something that needs to perhaps decrease this year. But overall, Pisces, this is kind of your year in a lot of ways, and it's just a wonderful year for experimenting in new, healthy ways, like experimenting with things that you know are going to contribute to you positively in some way or another. Now we have to really watch out for unhealthy experimentations, as that's possible. Any type of experimentation is likely for a Pisces person, and you want to really try to moderate that experience for yourself. I feel, again, offsetting. You guys know I'm all about offsetting, and I feel that these transits, Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces, all of this Gemini and Aries energy, it perhaps needs to be offset with what we learned in 2020, the Capricorn moderation, in order to really get the fullest results, okay? So understanding this balance between new experiments, new innovations, and then healthy moderation to open yourself to wonderful healing, wonderful progress, magic, even like what can be perceived as magic, giving experiences of tears of joy, soul tribe, new feelings of family prosperity as well, all opening up to you. New levels of artistic expression, new levels of, honestly, just stuff that you're going to be really proud of to say that you did. So try to think about how you can expand in that way. And I think it's just going to be a beautiful year for you. So I think that that's going to about sum it up, Pisces. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone who was able to check out this live premiere of the 2022 year ahead forecasts. This has been a super long video. I'm sure that many of you will need to break it up into multiple segments or, however you like to watch it. I hope that you'll check back to this video throughout the year of 2022. If you're experiencing any confusion or difficulty, come back to your sign, check out your sun, moon, rising, stelliums, the general overview. And then also, if you're still looking to understand more about 2021, in hindsight, I have the full year ahead forecast for it as well. It might be good to go back and see if it ended up resonating for you or not. And check out the description box below. So I have an ebook called Moon Symbols. If you'd like to learn more about your moon sign, I am on Patreon. I have like an Amazon storefront with recommendations that just have a lot of things that I enjoy. If you guys would like to support this channel in any way, I'm also on social media. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the description box. This is a wonderful time of year to support in any way as we're getting towards Capricorn season. So if you've been wanting to do that, check it out below. And if not, just your likes, comments, and subscribes are wonderful free ways to support this channel and to also receive notifications when new content comes out. So hit that subscribe button with the bell notifications turned on, and comment below and let me know what you're thinking of the 2022 year ahead cycle. What's your sign? What's your feelings about it? And all I can say as a final word, right before we hit the 3-hour mark, is that how lucky we are to be in such a high degree of contact with our purpose. This is incredible, but also seeing that or knowing that does call a lot of stuff into question about previous commitments, previous things that weren't necessarily connected with purpose, but were perhaps implemented as a survival mechanism or a coping mechanism. The most important thing about 2022 is now synchronicities coming in, healing experiences coming in to where we don't have to rely on survival constructs, on coping constructs. We can actually move into purpose. And I recommend that we all try to be open to that process and open to the true knowing of how we're investing our life force energy and how that can be something that contributes to our health, our well-being, and our ultimate causes in life. At the same time, a grain of salt is also wonderful in 2022. So we've talked about some heavy hitting stuff in this reading. I will also tell you that a grain of salt and a sort of nonchalant turning away can also be very, very auspicious this year. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful 2022. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Much love. Bye.